Chapter 274. At night, in Shrek Academy's canteen, Zhu Zhuqing was sitting alone as she slowly ate the food in front of her. Ma Hongjun and Oscar were sitting together as they looked at Zhu Zhuqing suspiciously. Ning Rongrong, who was standing at the side, also kept looking over in surprise. Why was Zhu Zhuqing the only one here? Where was Lu Yuan? There was also Xiao Wu, who was swinging her long scorpion braids. Her eyes were wandering, as if someone she hated wasn't around. As for Dai Mubai, he was nowhere to be found. Ever since he was defeated by Zhu Zhuqing yesterday, he had disappeared. What? Tang San? Sorry, he's still lying in bed. Lu Yuan's golden dragon spear had broken at least 4 or 5 of his ribs. He couldn't recover in 2 days. Even though he was a soul master and had strong recovery abilities, he had to be bedridden for at least a week before he could get out of bed. Of course, there was someone who was even worse off than Tang San. It was the man called Ri Tian, who only dared to *CK grass. He was still lying in a house somewhere like a dead dog. Flender really didn't care about him. He was quite bold. He only had a middle-aged woman feed Tang house some porridge every day. As long as he didn't die, it was fine. As for his injuries, he didn't care. At the very least, Tang Hao had to be bedridden for another month. When Long Xiaoyao said half a month, he meant that he could barely get out of bed in half a month with the help of a healing-type soul master. After all, even though healing-type soul masters couldn't heal Tang Hao's injuries, they could still speed up his recovery. However, it was a little too conservative to say that it was a month. Sister-in-law Zhuqing, why are you alone? Where's Boss Yuan? Ma Hongjun asked. Zhu Zhuqing was expressionless as she said, he went to meet someone. Then why didn't Boss Yuan bring you along? Ma Hongjun was a little curious. After all, Lu Yuan had been inseparable from Zhu Zhuqing for the past 2 days. They were very close. He won't bring me along when he meets her. Why should I follow him? Zhu Zhuqing said faintly. She stood up and cleaned the plate. Then, she turned around and returned to her wooden house. Something's not right. Ma Hongjun rubbed his double chin and said in confusion, I think she looks a little jealous. Ning Rongrong's eyes flashed. Was her guess yesterday true? Lu Yuan had other women besides Zhu Zhuqing. Moreover, Zhu Zhuqing seemed to know about this matter. Ning Rongrong's mind raced. Jealous? Could it be? Ma Hongjun and Oscar looked at each other, and a glint flashed across their eyes. Boss Yuan was indeed a role model for men. With such a beautiful girl like Zhu Zhuqing, he still dared to truly a role model for our generation. Why don't we go and see who Boss Yuan wants to meet? To be honest, I'm very curious. The small eyes on Ma Hongjun's chubby face emitted a strange light. Lu Yuan's actions made his heart itch. That seems to work too. Oscar nodded gently, and his pair of peach blossom eyes flashed with a gossipy look. He was also very curious about the person Lu Yuan left Zhu Zhuqing to meet alone. I'll go too. Ning Rongrong hurriedly came out. She wanted to verify her guess. Boring. Xiao Wu shook her scorpion braids. In fact, she was also a little curious, but she still had to take care of Tang San. Tang San said he wanted to eat yam today, so she was going to buy him a piece. And buy a big piece. The 3 of them looked at each other and casually ate a few mouthfuls of the food on the plate. After cleaning it up, the 3 of them secretly rushed in the direction of the Great Soul Arena. Great Soul Arena. Lu Yuan's footsteps were light as they made contact with the ground, emitting a clattering sound. The central Great Soul Arena was the most lively area in the Great Soul Arena. Generally, only important matches would be held here. The matches held here all had a very high commercial component. For example, the battle between Shrek's 7 Monsters and Heaven Do Imperial Academy in the original work was held in the central Great Soul Arena. That battle actually had a high commercial component and was not just a simple soul duel. Lu Yuan naturally came to this place before. In other words, basically, Lu Yuan's battles were carried out in this place. Because the battles he participated in were all 1 versus many battles, the battles were very exciting. So Lu Yuan was still very familiar with this place. He didn't wear a mask, or rather, Lu Yuan didn't want to wear a mask. Because of this map, he couldn't stay for long. Step by step, Lu Yuan thought that he would be able to see Xiao Shui, who he missed so much. In a moment, he was looking forward to it. When he came to the arena, both sides of the central Great Soul Arena were full of people, which made Lu Yuan frown slightly. He thought that Chihiro Snow had evacuated in advance. After all, this was their reunion, and Lu Yuan didn't want so many third wheels watching from the side. So what does Chihiro Snow mean? Does he want to defeat me in front of so many people? Lu Yuan was a little puzzled in his heart, but he still slowly walked into the Great Soul Arena and stepped onto the arena. Looking at the familiar figure with a golden mask and golden dress on the opposite side of the arena, Lu Yuan's heart beat slightly. "Share," Lu Yuan said softly, with a gentle look in his eyes. But the golden figure didn't move at all, as if she didn't hear Lu Yuan's call. Lu Yuan shook his head helplessly when he saw the look on Qian Rinchue's face. "What will come will come. It seems that Shui is determined to teach me a lesson. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are fortunate enough to have two heavyweight contestants on our stage. The one on the left is contestant Huanglong. Everyone must have heard a lot about Huanglong, and today is the first time contestant Huanglong has appeared in the competition with his original appearance. Isn't he handsome?" The host's voice carried a little teasing. "Handsome, very handsome. Huanglong, Huanglong." The audience below the stage shouted wildly. Lu Yuan's fame in the Great Soul Arena was definitely not fake. It was earned by proving himself with his achievements. It was not surprising that he could be tempted by so many people. Hearing the cheers of the audience, the host had a brilliant smile on his face. "The contestant on my right, her code name is Angel. She's an extremely talented soul master, a true genius. Today, she'll be competing with our contestant, Emperor Dragon. So, who will win this battle? Let's wait and see." The competition officially begins. As soon as the host's voice fell, he walked directly off the arena. At the same time, Chihiro Snow's body suddenly released a golden light, and 6 white wings rose behind her. The bright golden light with a sacred pressure rushed towards Lu Yuan like a tide. Chapter 275. The aura of the 6-winged angel surged towards Lu Yuan like a tidal wave. Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly when he sensed the strength of this aura. It seemed like Cher's strength had improved tremendously over the years. This aura was almost comparable to that of a soul sage. His polychoria flickered and Lu Yuan saw Qian Rinchue's beautiful face under the mask. 2 years had passed, and Shui had become even more charming. Rank 59. This was Chihiro Snow's current rank. She was only 1 step away from rank 60. Chihiro Snow was 6 years older than Lu Yuan. This meant that Chihiro Snow was only 18 years old, but she was already about to become a soul emperor. This speed was very fast. It was very difficult to find anyone in the entire Douluo continent who could compare to Chihiro Snow. Of course, he was an exception. The martial spirit of the 6-winged angel was extremely sacred. Only a faintly discernible chanting sound could be heard. Behind Qian Rinxue, a beautiful female angel opened her arms, and sacred golden light sprinkled down. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, and black soul rings surrounded Chihiro Snow and rippled happily. Lu Yuan smiled wryly as he sensed the divine power emanating from Shui-er's body. It seemed that he would have to fight with Shui-er to his heart's content. If he did not let her vent her anger, it would be troublesome to coax her. Lu Yuan smiled gently and said in a gentle voice, "Cher, I remember that we haven't sparred for 4 years. Let's have a good fight today." Lu Yuan and Chihiro Snow had interacted for a year in the Plum Garden. During that time, the two of them sparred frequently. Although Lu Yuan lost every time, that was because Lu Yuan was still too young and didn't have many tricks up his sleeve. However, Lu Yuan was no longer the same as before. To be honest, he was looking forward to sparring with Chihiro Snow again. However, Chihiro Snow was his woman, and he was too embarrassed to ask her normally. This time, Chihiro Snow was deliberately challenging him because she was angry. This was a good opportunity. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Chihiro Snow still didn't answer, but the corners of her mouth under the mask couldn't help but curl up. She wanted to see how much this stinky guy had improved in the past 2 years. Lu Yuan let out a low roar, and the golden dragon martial soul instantly appeared in his body. Golden scales began to climb on his arms, and Lu Yuan's arms completely turned into a pair of golden dragon claws. Faint scales also appeared on his neck and cheeks. In the middle of his forehead was a diamond-shaped golden dragon scale. A dragon's roar resounded, and a resplendent golden light radiated from Lu Yuan's body. The giant dragon phantom behind him opened its arms, and a domineering and powerful force suppressed Chihiro Snow's six-winged angel aura. Yellow, purple, black, and black soul rings that exceeded the optimal combination slowly appeared under Lu Yuan's body. With every soul ring that appeared, Lu Yuan's aura increased by a bit. When the fourth soul ring appeared, Lu Yuan's aura was no longer inferior to Chihiro Snow's, and even surpassed her. This stinky guy, his cultivation speed is so fast. Seeing the 4 soul rings on Lu Yuan's body, Chihiro Snow was inwardly shocked. She seemed to have broken through to Soul Ancestor at the age of 12, but that was because she had rank 20 innate soul power. However, although Lu Yuan's golden dragon martial soul was strong and was comparable to her 6-winged angel, it wasn't a god-ranked martial soul. His innate soul power was only at rank 10, but he still broke through to Soul Ancestor at the age of 12. This talent seemed to be quite amazing. His cultivation speed was even faster than hers. Furthermore, this guy actually managed to obtain a 10,000-year third soul ring. Chihiro Snow couldn't help but feel proud in her heart. This was the man she had taken a fancy to. He was definitely a dragon among men. However, Qianren was only happy for a moment before the expression on her face became serious. This stinking fellow was originally someone who could cross realms as easily as drinking water. If she didn't fight seriously, she might lose to him. She still wanted to teach him a lesson. In this way, wouldn't her plan fail? This guy actually didn't come to see her for 2 years, so she had to teach him a lesson. Seeing that Lu Yuan had released his martial soul, the pure white wings on Chihiro Snow's back shook, and her figure quickly approached Lu Yuan. The third soul ring on her body lit up, and at the same time, a golden light condensed in her hand. A golden holy sword appeared in Chihiro Snow's hand. Chihiro Snow waved her arm, and the golden holy sword slashed towards Lu Yuan. This was Chihiro Snow's Seraph's third soul skill, Angelic Blade. The golden holy sword slashed towards Lu Yuan, bringing with it a sharp gust of wind. Seeing the golden holy sword slashing towards him, Lu Yuan didn't dare to underestimate it. The Seraph was a god-ranked martial soul. It was fine if he was hit by it, but the purifying power would take the opportunity to enter his body and consume his soul power. That was the real threat. Golden light flashed in Lu Yuan's hand, and the golden dragon spear appeared in his hand. He thrust it forward, and with a light flick, the golden dragon spear collided with the angelic blade. Lu Yuan's figure did not move, but Qianren took more than 10 steps back. Although the attack just now was just a light flick, the power contained in it was definitely not small. It should be known that in terms of strength, the golden dragon specialized in strength. Now, Lu Yuan's casual swing had the strength of 65,000 kilograms. How terrifying was that? It would be strange if Chihiro Snow could block it. One had to know that Lu Yuan had only used 50% of his strength. After all, she was his wife, and he couldn't hurt her. What great strength! Chihiro Snow steadied himself and looked at Lu Yuan, who didn't move at all, with a slight change in his expression. Lu Yuan's strength was simply too great. Just a light flick was enough to make him feel like he couldn't hold onto the holy sword. The golden dragon truly deserved to be called the ultimate strength. It seemed that if he wanted to defeat this stinking fellow, he would have to use his strength. His second soul ring lit up, and Chihiro Snow's figure became somewhat illusory. It was his second soul skill, Void Wings. The effect of Void Wings was that in the illusory state, one would be immune to physical attacks and energy attacks by 50%. In addition, one speed would be increased by 20%. Chihiro Snow's figure flashed, and he clenched his fist. First soul skill, Angel Assault. A golden halo condensed on Chihiro Snow's fist, and he punched straight at Lu Yuan. At the same time, a golden light shield enveloped Chihiro Snow. This soul skill was both offensive and defensive. At the same time, the golden halo on his fist had a very strong suppressive effect on soul power. This was a close-range, single-target attack. Qianrenchue's speed was extremely fast. In addition, Lu Yuan did not even try to block her attack. The punch landed directly on Lu Yuan's body. A golden light burst forth from Lu Yuan's chest, and Lu Yuan's figure was forced back 6 or 7 steps before he could stabilize himself. Patting his chest, Lu Yuan straightened his body. Angel Assault was indeed powerful, but it wasn't much of a threat to his physical strength. Chapter 276. It was just that the purifying power was a little troublesome. Of course, it was just a little troublesome. As soon as the purifying power entered his body, it was surrounded by Lu Yuan's clear energy and vast ocean power before it was quickly refined. The purifying power of an angel was indeed powerful, but Lu Yuan was also a man with 2 types of divine power. Lu Yuan deliberately took this punch. If it didn't take a few punches, how could Chihiro Snow vent his anger? Furthermore, a few punches didn't hurt or itch. It wasn't like the angel's light blade at the beginning. If he didn't block it, it would definitely open a big hole in Lu Yuan's body. Taking a few punches was fine. As if he understood Lu Yuan's intention, Chihiro Snow really did throw a few punches at Lu Yuan's body. Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile bitterly. Cher's resentment towards him was quite deep. Suddenly, Chihiro Snow's 4th soul ring lit up. Golden feathers turned into feather blades and shot towards Lu Yuan. The feather blades were like a rain of swords, and Lu Yuan was shocked. This was Chihiro Snow's 4th soul skill, falling golden feathers. Lu Yuan naturally couldn't take this kind of attack head-on. The golden dragon spear in his hand was as agile as a swimming dragon and blocked all the golden feather blades that flew towards him. Spear technique, vast ocean. Lu Yuan's self-created soul skill, boundless sea. It was a spear technique that he had created based on his own understanding of the boundless sea spear art. It was both offensive and defensive, and it contained the intent of the boundless sea. When the spear pierced out, the sound of waves rang out, and streaks of spear light swept away all the feather blades like waves. Bang! Another punch landed on Lu Yuan's body. Lu Yuan turned around and grabbed at the air. This was because Chihiro Snow was immune to all physical attacks in his void wings. Be careful, Cher. He thrust his golden dragon spear forward. Vast sea universe, Lu Yuan shouted in a low voice. His spear had not yet pierced out, but a cold light had already appeared. The cold spear intent had already locked onto Chihiro Snow. Chihiro Snow's aura was like a monstrous wave pressing down on his body. Even though Chihiro Snow was in an intangible state, he still felt his heart palpitate. Not daring to be careless, the golden sacred sword immediately blocked in front of him. With a clang, Chihiro Snow's figure was quickly thrown to the back. This shot had actually knocked Chihiro Snow out of his wings of nothingness. How is this possible? It was Qianrenchue's first time speaking. There was a hint of shock in her tone. She was clearly in the state of nothingness and was immune to all physical attacks. However, not only did Lu Yuan's shot hit her, but it also knocked her out of the state of nothingness. Chihiro Snow held the sacred sword in her hand. She did not attack. Instead, she looked at Lu Yuan with puzzlement in her beautiful eyes. What the hell is going on? This is the power of intent. Intent is invisible, so even if you're immune to physical attacks, the power of intent can still hurt you. Seeing Chihiro Snow's puzzled expression, Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Spear intent was one of the great powers that he currently possessed. It was enough to allow him to fight above his rank. Moreover, it was also a great counter to skills that were immune to physical attacks. So this is intent. Chihiro Snow muttered softly. Chihiro Snow also knew about intent. However, there were very few people on the Douluo continent who had comprehended intent. At the very least, among the people that Lu Yuan knew, the Sword Doa was the only one who had comprehended sword intent. However, other than himself, the only other person who had comprehended spear intent was Yang Wudi. Yang Wudi was the leader of the Breakers. His offensive strength was extremely high, and he was able to fight against the title Douluo as a sole Douluo. Perhaps he relied on the power of his intent realm, and he was also an extremely offensive person. That was why he was able to do so. It seems like you have improved a lot over the years. Chihiro Snow sighed. In the past, with his wings of nothingness, Lu Yuan was almost perfectly countered by Chihiro Snow. Therefore, he had almost never won against Chihiro Snow. However, now that Lu Yuan had comprehended spear intent, he was a considerable threat to Chihiro Snow. If I don't work hard to become stronger, how can I protect you in the future, Cher? Lu Yuan looked at Chihiro Snow with deep love in his eyes. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Chihiro Snow felt a trace of sweetness in his heart. Stinky fellow, at least you still have some conscience. However, even if you want to train and become stronger, you shouldn't have not come to see me for more than 2 years. Don't you even have this little bit of time? You only know how to say things that sound good. Let me ask you, where have you been for the past 2 years? Especially in the first year, I couldn't even find any news about you. It was as if you had disappeared from the face of the earth. Chihiro Snow's tone was indifferent, but there was a trace of complaint in it. He was complaining about why Lu Yuan hadn't come to see him for so long. However, Chihiro Snow wouldn't say something like, "You didn't even come to see me." She couldn't say such words. Being able to say such words was already the limit of Chihiro Snow. I will tell you about these things later. I will tell you everything. Cher, don't be angry, okay? Lu Yuan said. I want to be angry. Moreover, I want to see how much progress you have made in the past 2 years. Chihiro Snow arrogantly snorted, and a bright golden light enveloped the entire ring. In an instant, the entire ring turned into a golden world. Lu Yuan only felt that his strength seemed to be suppressed. Furthermore, there was always a holy purification power drilling into his body, trying to consume his strength. Is this the angel domain? Lu Yuan's expression became serious. Without the angel domain, Chihiro Snow was a completely different person. Stinking brat, today I will let you experience the power of the angel domain. You shouldn't be able to move now, right? Chihiro Snow's crisp voice rang out. Under the effects of the angel domain, Lu Yuan's strength was reduced by 10%, while Chihiro Snow's strength was increased by 10%. This was a considerable gap. Furthermore, there was a mysterious power that imprisoned him in the angel domain. It seemed that he couldn't move easily. Was this the power of the angel domain? Sigh. Lu Yuan sighed softly. Golden light shone from his body as he donned the golden dragon armor. At the same time, his second golden dragon soul ring lit up as he activated his second soul skill, Golden Dragon War Body. The Golden Dragon War Body was immune to all control-type skills, so the imprisonment of the angel domain was also ineffective. Furthermore, the buff provided by the Golden Dragon Armor was enough to offset the reduction of the angel domain. You are finally showing your true strength. Seeing Lu Yuan donning the Golden Dragon Armor, Chihiro Snow knew that Lu Yuan was starting to get serious. This was exactly what she wanted. She wanted to see how strong Lu Yuan was now. Fifth soul skill, Holy Sword. This sword was formed from holy fire, and its attack power was extremely strong. It could also increase the purification effect of the angel domain soul power by 300%. Chapter 277. The Holy Sword was Chihiro Snow's 5th soul skill, and it was also his only 10,000-year soul skill. It was very powerful. With Lu Yuan's current abilities, it might be a little difficult to deal with him. The Holy Sword slashed towards Lu Yuan with intense golden flames. Lu Yuan naturally wouldn't retreat. Light flowed on his golden dragon spear as he rushed towards Chihiro Snow. The two of them instantly engaged in a fight. At this moment, the three people who had secretly followed them also arrived at the central Great Soul Arena. Through the golden light screen, they could still vaguely see the two of them fighting. It could be seen that the battle was very intense. Wow, there's actually someone who can fight with Boss Lu to this extent. Ma Hongjun exclaimed. Looking at the two of them fighting fiercely, his fat face was full of surprise. Lu Yuan's strength was enough to defeat a Soul Emperor, but now a Soul King was actually fighting with Lu Yuan to this extent. This Soul King is definitely not simple. Yes, Oscar nodded, but his eyes were looking at the two of them through the golden light screen. It seems like the person fighting with Lu Yuan really looks like a girl. Is it really what we think? It's very possible. Ma Hongjun nodded. It's just as I thought. Ning Rongrong snorted softly, and a smile flashed across her eyes. Isn't this exactly what I thought? Lu Yuan indeed has other girlfriends besides Zhu Zhuqing. Doesn't this mean that my chances are much higher? A half-hearted person is easier to deal with than a single-minded person. Ning Rongrong's heart was filled with joy as she gently blinked her beautiful eyes. While the three of them were sneakily watching, in a private room, three old men were watching the battle between two people. They were the serpent spear thorny pufferfish and the frenzy rhino Douluo. Young Master Yuan is growing really fast. The frenzy rhino Douluo sighed softly. 2 years ago, when he followed Lu Yuan was only a rank 29 Soul Grandmaster. However, in just 2 years, he was already a Soul Ancestor. Furthermore, the combination of soul rings left even him astonished. 3rd ring and 4th ring in 10,000 years. Such talent was truly terrifying. Yes, after hearing the frenzied Rhino Doa's words, the snake spear Doa nodded and said, Young Master Yuan must be very powerful to be able to fight young mistress to such an extent in the angelic domain. Chihiro Snow unleashed his angelic domain, and his strength was close to that of Soul Sage. However, even so, Lu Yuan wasn't at a disadvantage. His fighting strength was rather frightening. Who do you think will win this match? Young Master Yuan or young mistress? The thorny dolphin Douluo suddenly asked. The snake spear Douluo analyzed. I'm guessing it's the young mistress. After all, the young mistress' soul power is much higher than Sir Yuan's. Furthermore, Sir Yuan's soul power is being depleted rapidly in the angel domain. They might be able to fight to a draw now, but once he expends too much soul power, he'll eventually lose. What he said was very reasonable. After all, the power of a domain could not be underestimated. As a talent domain, the angel domain was much more powerful than the acquired domain. Lu Yuan's soul power was being depleted continuously. Even though he was as ferocious as a tiger right now, once he ran out of soul power, he would be defeated. Yes, I think so too. The thorny dolphin Douluo nodded. He felt that the snake spear Douluo was right. I have a different opinion. I think young Master Yuan will win. Don't forget that young Master Yuan has only used his 1st and 2nd soul skills. He hasn't even used his 3 or 4 10,000-year soul skills yet. The outcome might not be certain. Furthermore, no one can guarantee that young Master Yuan doesn't have any other trump cards. The frenzied Rhino Douluo said, I've followed young Master Yuan for some time. He's someone who always has a backup plan. He must have some other trump cards. Once he uses them, young mistress is very likely to lose. After hearing the frenzied Rhino Douluo's analysis, the snake spear Douluo and the thorny dolphin Douluo looked at each other before they turned back to the arena. They wanted to see who was right. After pushing Chihiro Snow back with another spear strike, Lu Yuan sensed that he only had half of his soul power left. He said softly, Cher, your angel domain is quite interesting. I only have half of my soul power left. So you're going to admit defeat? Rascal, I won't make things difficult for you. Just let me beat you up. Chihiro Snow chuckled as he spoke. That won't do. It's fine if we do it in private, but there are so many people watching. If I get beaten up in front of them, it'll be so embarrassing. Lu Yuan smiled as he spoke. Then what are you talking about? Take this. The wings behind Chihiro Snow's back flapped, and the holy sword slashed towards Lu Yuan once again. Seeing Chihiro Snow's actions, Lu Yuan didn't dodge. He only said softly, "Cher, have you seen the color of chaos?" "What?" Chihiro Snow was a little perplexed, and even the holy sword in his hand slowed down slightly. Lu Yuan's dual pupils flashed, and two streaks of chaotic light shot forth, instantly causing the entire golden light barrier to ripple. Dual pupils, chaotic light. As soon as his voice trailed off, the light in his eyes swept forth, and the entire angel domain instantly collapsed as golden energy scattered in all directions. How? How is this possible? Is this the power of your second martial soul? Chihiro Snow was in disbelief at the sight of the shock in Lu Yuan's eyes. One had to realize that this was an angel domain, yet had been broken by a single streak of light. Just how powerful was this rascal's second martial soul? A faint smile appeared on Lu Yuan's face at the sight of Chihiro Snow's astonished expression, and he gently drew a circle with his golden dragon spear. Unpredictable storm. This was the first technique of the Sea God's 13 halberds, and it was also the only control-type technique. With Lu Yuan's current strength, it was enough to immobilize Chihiro Snow for 8 seconds. What the hell is this? Being enveloped by the golden light, Qianren was immediately unable to move. Her entire body stiffened on the spot. Lu Yuan's body flashed, and he clamped Chihiro Snow under his right arm before quickly making his way out of the arena. "Mr. Huang Long, the match isn't over yet." The host's panicked voice sounded as Lu Yuan left the arena with Chihiro Snow. "I admit defeat." Lu Yuan's voice sounded from afar. The battle here had already ended, but there was another battle waiting for him. Lu Yuan's angel's domain had been broken through, and his final actions had been witnessed by everyone. The same went for the 3 fellows from Shrek Academy who had followed him in secret. Ma Hongjun muttered under his breath, "Oh my God, I don't believe that there's nothing going on between Boss Yuan and this girl." Impressive. He carried the girl and ran away in front of everyone. Lu Yuan is truly a role model for our generation. Oscar and Ma Hongjun looked at each other, and both of them chuckled. Perverted. Ning Rongrong couldn't help but pout at the sight of the 2 people beside her. Chapter 278. Stinky guy, let go of me. Chihiro Snow struggled with all her might under Lu Yuan's right arm. However, Lu Yuan's strength was so great that Chihiro Snow couldn't break free at all. "I won't let go. Cher, just stay here quietly." With a faint smile, Lu Yuan tightened his arms. Suddenly, Chihiro Snow lost all her strength. Her body was sore, and she stopped struggling. She just quietly let Lu Yuan clamp her under his right arm. "Stinky guy, where are you taking me?" Seeing that her struggle was futile, Chihiro Snow bit her red lips and asked, "Where are we going?" "Naturally, I'm going to find a place to communicate with you." "Let me think. Is the grove better, or the meadow better?" Lu Yuan pretended to hesitate for a while and sighed. "AI, it's really hard to choose." Hearing this, Chihiro Snow's body suddenly stiffened. This stinky guy didn't know how to think. Chihiro Snow was anxious. It wasn't that she was unwilling, but with her pride, how could she accept a place like the grove and the meadow and the wilderness? "Stinky guy, if you dare to do this to me, I'll bite you to death." Chihiro Snow thought for a long time, but didn't know what to say. She could only threaten Lu Yuan like this. "Is that so?" With a thought, Lu Yuan's body was suddenly covered with golden armor. It was the golden dragon armor. Looking at Chihiro Snow with a smile, Lu Yuan said, "Bite, just bite. I won't be responsible if your teeth break." Hearing this, Qianren pretty face immediately turned black. Even a golden dragon battle armor had been brought out, so what was the point of biting it? This thing's defensive power couldn't even be split open by a holy sword, let alone her teeth. When did this stinky guy become so shameless? Looking at the gentle smile on Lu Yuan's face, Chihiro Snow only felt that it was so hateful. She didn't feel the warmth from before at all. This stinking fellow definitely had a change of heart. How could he treat her like this? It must be that Zhu Qing. After being with her for so long, this stinky fellow doesn't even love me anymore. If it was in the past, seeing that I was unhappy, he would have come to coax me. Qian Rinxue thought indignantly in her heart. What's wrong? Not biting anymore? Lu Yuan's tone was gentle. He smiled and said, Since you don't want to bite me, then we'll continue forward. I think the forest is better. It's quiet enough. No one will find us. Hearing this, Qian Rinxue's delicate figure trembled. Stinking brat. Chihiro Snow's tone was a little flirtatious. Her voice was sweet and soft, which was very different from her usual domineering tone. You won't do that to me, right? Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan pitifully. Her long eyelashes fluttered gently. Coupled with her beautiful face, it was really indescribably seductive. Lu Yuan was immediately mesmerized. To be able to make him mesmerized, it wasn't a simple matter. Chihiro Snow's charm was indeed irresistible. As for why he could see Chihiro Snow's face, because her mask had fallen off long ago. It had fallen off when she was struggling. However, Lu Yuan recovered after a slight daze. Looking at Chihiro Snow, who was acting coquettishly, Lu Yuan laughed in his heart. It seemed that he had really scared this girl. Also, with this girl's background, how could she accept doing that kind of thing with him in the forest? She must have been scared out of her wits. What's wrong, Cher? Are you scared now? Didn't you want to find trouble with me? Didn't you say that you wanted to give me a good beating? Lu Yuan looked at Chihiro Snow with a smile that wasn't a smile. Are you still going to find trouble with me now? Don't look, don't look. Chihiro Snow quickly shook her head, but in her heart, she was cursing Lu Yuan. Stinking brat, I'll let you be proud now. When I get free, see how I'll teach you a lesson. Chihiro Snow was a little unwilling, but now that she was being clamped under Lu Yuan's right arm, it was like a piece of meat on a chopping board. She had no choice but to lower her head. However, when she was free, she would definitely teach Lu Yuan a lesson. This stinking brat, he was really rebellious. He actually dared to treat her like this. I'm not convinced. Lu Yuan sighed softly. He lifted his right hand and pulled Qian Rinxue to his front, hugging her tightly in his arms. Gently rubbing Chihiro Snow's cheek, Lu Yuan said softly, Silly girl, I was lying. How could I treat you like this? You're my most beloved Cher. Is that so? Chihiro Snow snorted and said, Stinking brat, did you forget that you still have me? I haven't returned to Heavendo Imperial City for more than 2 years, and you actually want to take me to that kind of place to do that kind of thing. I really want to bite you to death. Chihiro Snow's face turned red as she angrily complained about Lu Yuan's inappropriate actions. It's my fault. Lu Yuan decisively admitted his mistake. These 2 years of being engrossed in cultivation, he had indeed neglected Cher and his senior sister. They probably missed him very much. It won't happen again in the future. I'll accompany you often, Lu Yuan said softly. He had stayed in Shrek Academy for a long time, and he was preparing to return to the Martial Soul Palace and start preparing to establish his own power. He had chosen Heavendo Imperial City as the location, and there would definitely be many opportunities to meet Chihiro Snow. Is that so? Chihiro Snow was delighted when she heard this. However, she was still a proud person. Who wants your company? Do you really not want me to accompany you? Lu Yuan gently kissed Qian Rinxue's earlobe and blew a breath of air into her ear. Chihiro Snow's body immediately went soft, and she collapsed into Lu Yuan's arms. She didn't have any strength left in her body. Lu Yuan laughed and picked Chihiro Snow up by the waist. Chihiro Snow's heart thumped as she was carried in Lu Yuan's arms. She buried her little head deep into Lu Yuan's chest. Chihiro Snow quietly listened to Lu Yuan's heartbeat, and her clear voice sounded in Lu Yuan's ears. Stinky fellow, you've become naughty. Lu Yuan's lips curled up when he heard this. Do you like it then? I don't like it. Chihiro Snow snorted and lowered her head. Then, when Lu Yuan wasn't paying attention, she lifted her head slightly and stole a glance at Lu Yuan's handsome face. Out of the corner of his eye, Lu Yuan noticed that Chihiro Snow didn't mean what she said. Lu Yuan laughed. This Cher, Her arrogance has already become a disease. I'm afraid that it's the terminal stage. Hugging Chihiro Snow's soft body, Lu Yuan found a high-end hotel and asked for a suite. They couldn't really be in the wilderness. That was just a joke. He regarded Chihiro Snow as a pearl and a treasure. Not to mention that Chihiro Snow was unwilling. Even if Chihiro Snow was willing, he wouldn't agree. Opening the door, Lu Yuan looked at the pink decorations that revealed a bit of ambiguity. He nodded with satisfaction. The decorations were not bad. He hooked the door with his leg and closed it. Looking at Chihiro Snow's blushing face in his arms, Lu Yuan couldn't hold back his feelings anymore. He lowered his head and kissed Chihiro Snow's delicate red lips. Chapter 279. Lu Yuan could not help but kiss Chihiro Snow. Chihiro Snow also hugged Lu Yuan's neck tightly and responded passionately. Gently brushing Chihiro Snow's golden hair, Lu Yuan's body slowly moved forward. He placed Chihiro Snow on the bed and then slowly pressed down. 2 hours later, gently wiping the sweat on Chihiro Snow's forehead, Lu Yuan tucked the sweat-soaked golden hair behind her ear and lovingly kissed Chihiro Snow's forehead. Chihiro Snow quietly laid in Lu Yuan's arms, her snow-white arms hugging Lu Yuan's neck. Chihiro Snow's expression was peaceful, and her beautiful face had an unusual blush, looking exceptionally charming. Only her smooth brows occasionally wrinkled, and a trace of pain flashed across Chihiro Snow's small face. "How is it? Does it still hurt?" Lu Yuan asked with concern. "What do you think?" Chihiro Snow's beautiful eyes fiercely glanced at Lu Yuan and said, "You don't know how to be tender to a woman at all. This is my first time. It's my first time, too." Lu Yuan's mouth revealed a trace of a wry smile. He did not do it on purpose. He really only did it once. Who asked the Golden Dragon's bloodline to be so powerful? Speaking of which, he was still somewhat in the middle of the road. Sigh, being too strong was also a problem. "I don't know what you ate growing up. How can you be so strong?" Chihiro Snow's face had a trace of lingering fear. Lu Yuan did not seem to know fatigue at all. That kind of strength made her little heart tremble a little. If it wasn't for Lu Yuan's concern for her and his love for her and his gentleness, she might have fainted already. No wonder this guy had to find a few girlfriends. If she was alone, it would be difficult. Chihiro Snow's heart did not have any resistance to who Lena and Zhu Qing. It was rare that she did not have any resistance. She really needed a few people to help her. "You know about the Golden Dragon's bloodline." Lu Yuan smiled bitterly. He was so strong, he had no choice. "Humph!" Chihiro Snow snorted, hugged Lu Yuan's arm, and leaned on it. Lu Yuan could only accept a few of the dragon's bloodline until now. To be honest, Chihiro Snow was already quite satisfied in her heart. Moreover, Lu Yuan's movements just now were so unfamiliar, indicating that she was definitely his first woman. Chihiro Snow's heart was slightly sweet. This smelly guy did not lie to her. She was the main wife. Gently stroking Chihiro Snow's face and looking at Chihiro Snow's beautiful face, Lu Yuan's heart was moved. He lowered his head and gently kissed Chihiro Snow's red lips. Chihiro Snow's delicate body trembled, looking at Lu Yuan's eyes with a trace of fear. "You don't want more, do you?" "No. Do I look like someone who doesn't know how to behave?" Lu Yuan gently kissed Chihiro Snow's temples and said, "I just want to hug you like this." Chihiro Snow's red lips moved, as if she had made a decision, and said, "If you really want more, you can go find Zhu Qing. I don't mind." "What are you talking about?" Lu Yuan gently flicked Chihiro Snow's forehead and said, "Do I look like someone who leaves after eating? I'm not going anywhere tonight. I'll stay here with you." "Okay." Chihiro Snow softly acknowledged and hugged Lu Yuan's arm tightly, a beautiful smile never seen before on her face. "Rest well, Cher. It's been hard on you these past few years. You're too tired. You need a good rest." The heavy responsibility of the martial Soul Palace was placed on Chihiro Snow's shoulders. She was a young girl in the prime of her youth, hiding in the dangerous Heaven Do Empire. It went without saying how much hardship she had suffered. Even though Lu Yuan had helped her secure her position as the crown prince and gradually increased her power and influence, Chihiro Snow still felt immense pressure in her heart. Furthermore, Lu Yuan hadn't been by her side for the past 2 years, so Chihiro Snow hadn't been happy. At this moment, Chihiro Snow felt an unprecedented sense of security by Lu Yuan's side, and she just wanted to quietly lean in Lu Yuan's arms. Hugging Chihiro Snow's snow-white body and lightly smelling the delicate fragrance on Chihiro Snow's body, Lu Yuan slowly closed his eyes. The next day, Lu Yuan opened his eyes, and the first thing he saw was Chihiro Snow's beautiful face. Chihiro Snow's jade-like hand rested on her cheek, and her beautiful big eyes blinked as she quietly looked at Lu Yuan's face. Her eyes filled with tenderness. "Share." Looking at Chihiro Snow's beautiful face, Lu Yuan softly called out, "Stinking brat." Chihiro Snow softly whispered, a strange light in her eyes. Lu Yuan gently hugged Chihiro Snow's waist and kissed Chihiro Snow's red lips, and his forehead pressed against hers. "Share from now on, you're mine. You're mine too," Chihiro Snow softly said. "Huh, that's right, I'm yours too." Lu Yuan laughed. Chihiro Snow was indeed Chihiro Snow. Her possessiveness was no less than his, wanting to control everything in her own hands. If it was Hulina or Zhu Zhuqing, they would definitely not say such words. Gently playing with Chihiro Snow's golden hair, Lu Yuan smiled and said, "Share, I'll accompany you to Soto City today. Do you want to go?" Chihiro Snow softly shook her head and said, "I don't want to go out. You can just stay with me." "What's wrong? Does it still hurt?" Lu Yuan asked. Hearing Lu Yuan's caring words, Chihiro Snow's heart warmed. This feeling of being pampered was really good. "It's almost healed. It doesn't hurt anymore. I just don't want to go out. Can you stay?" Chihiro Snow said. "All right." Lu Yuan gently nodded. Since Chihiro Snow had made such a request, he naturally wouldn't reject it. He also wanted to get closer to Chihiro Snow. Chihiro Snow leaned into Lu Yuan's embrace. Lu Yuan started to tell Chihiro Snow about his experiences over the past 2 years, even though Chihiro Snow might already know some of it. "So you've been in the Great Star Dough Forest for the past year. No wonder I couldn't find any information about you." Chihiro Snow's face was a little stunned. She didn't expect Lu Yuan to have stayed in the Great Star Dough Forest for a year. It must have been very dangerous. "The danger wasn't too bad. I even hunted a 15,000-year dark golden terraclaw bear, and it dropped a right arm bone. It's still relatively intact, but I didn't absorb it. I kept it in my ring." "Share, do you need it?" "If you need it, you can take it." The dark golden terraclaw bear's right arm bone was definitely a rare treasure. After all, the dark golden terraclaw bear was a transcendent soul beast on par with the Titan giant ape. Their soul bones were extremely rare. Even if it couldn't compare to a 100,000-year soul bone, it was definitely comparable to a 50,000-year soul bone and above. "There's no need. You can keep it." "Didn't you say you wanted to establish your own organization?" "You'll need it when the time comes," Chihiro Snow said. "Share, you're not against me establishing my own organization?" Lu Yuan was a little surprised as he asked. Chapter 280. Why should I object? Chihiro Snow chuckled as he looked at Lu Yuan. "Isn't what's yours also mine? Isn't the organization you're creating a part of the Martial Soul Palace?" Chihiro Snow asked. Lu Yuan laughed when he heard that. "That's right. What's mine is also yours." The organization he was creating was naturally Chihiro Snow's, but whether or not it was a part of the Martial Soul Palace was still up for debate. He couldn't possibly hand over the authority of his organization to someone unrelated to the Martial Soul Palace. Not even Sindoryu. In the Martial Soul Palace, he only acknowledged Chihiro Snow, Hulina, BB Dawn, and half of the Golden Crocodile. As for the others, in Lu Yuan's eyes, they were members of his own organization. Other than being from the same organization, there was no other relationship between them. If Chihiro Snow wanted to borrow the strength of his organization, Lu Yuan would definitely help him without hesitation. He could even hand over the authority to Chihiro Snow. However, if Sindoryu wanted to interfere, then he couldn't. Only he could touch his things. No one else could interfere. If anyone dared to touch his things, he would chop off their claws. What kind of organization are you planning to create? What's its name? Chihiro Snow asked with interest. Let's call it the Dragon Palace. You can see it as an existence similar to the Pontiff's Palace and the Elder's Palace. Lu Yuan said, Dragon Palace, that's a good name. However, your ambitions aren't small either. You actually want to be on par with the Pontiff's Palace and the Elder's Palace. Can you find so many titled Douluo? Even though the Dragon Emperor Douluo can hold the fort by himself, you can't let him do everything, can you? Chihiro Snow said in detail. After all, he's also an ultimate Douluo. He's also someone who cares about his reputation. I have my own plans. You just need to support me. I'm not afraid of difficulties or dangers. I'm just afraid that you won't understand me. Lu Yuan said as he gently caressed Chihiro Snow's face. I'm already yours. No matter what you do, I'll support you. Chihiro Snow said softly. Okay. Lu Yuan felt warmth in his heart as he gently caressed Chihiro Snow's golden hair. 3 days later, he stayed with Qianrenxue for 3 days. Because Qianrenxue was pressed for time, she had to leave. After parting with Qianrenxue, Lu Yuan returned to Shrek Academy. He had not returned for 3 days. He wondered how Zhu Zhuqing was doing. However, he thought about Zhu Zhuqing's character. At most, she would be sulking and would be fine after some counseling. After all, Chihiro Snow would only stay for 3 days. Therefore, Lu Yuan cherished every minute he spent with her. As for Zhu Zhuqing, he could only wait for Chihiro Snow to leave before coaxing her. Back at Shrek Academy seemed a little different today. Everyone was gathered in the plaza, and even Tang San, who had been lying down the entire time, was out of bed. His complexion seemed to be fine, and even if his injuries hadn't recovered, he should be fine. In addition, Oscar, Ning Rongrong, and the others were here. The original Shrek's 7 monsters were all here. Flinder and a few other teachers were here. At this moment, Flinder seemed to be introducing someone to them. Lu Yuan walked in slowly. That person's figure entered Lu Yuan's eyes. Oh, it's you. Lu Yuan didn't need to look at his face. Just by looking at his back, he knew who this person was. Wasn't he the master who was known as the #1 theoretical expert? He didn't expect him to be here. To be honest, Lu Yuan's view of the master was quite complicated. Before he obtained the Polychoria and clear air spirit seed, Lu Yuan even had the impulse to kill the master. However, now that he had completely gotten rid of his influence, he didn't have the intention to kill him. After all, he didn't have any enmity with the master. The master didn't have the ability to harm the people around him. Lu Yuan's hostility towards him came more from Bibidon. He and the master had a good relationship when they were at Notting Academy. At that time, there were no conflicts between the two of them. However, after the signing mission was issued, Lu Yuan refused to be apprenticed to the master. His relationship with the master was somewhat estranged. The master needed someone who could prove his theory, and Lu Yuan naturally wasn't willing to be a test subject. Furthermore, compared to his understanding of martial souls, he also had his own insights, which weren't inferior to grandmasters. He actually had a complete plan for his own cultivation path when his martial soul had awakened. He even had a plan for which soul ring he would obtain and what type of soul skill he would obtain. Since the master had Tang San, a twin martial soul disciple, he naturally didn't care about Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan was naturally happy with this. In this way, the relationship between the two of them became even more estranged. After joining the Martial Soul Palace, Bibidon's meticulous care for him moved him. In his heart, Bibidon's position was comparable to Chihiro Snow and Hulina. The better his relationship with Bibidon, the more he didn't want to see Bibidon suffer. Therefore, how could Lu Yuan be kind to those who had hurt Bibidon and those who had made Bibidon sad? Lu Yuan was a principled person. He would never target anyone for no reason, unless that person had brought harm or threat to the people around him. The master had once brought unimaginable harm to Bibidon. Even though Bibidon's tragic experience came directly from Chihiro disease, it was inseparable from the master, Yu Xiaojiang. If it weren't for him, Bibidon wouldn't have made a fuss, and said that she would stay with him even if she had to leave the martial soul palace. Chihiro disease wouldn't have forced her to stay in the martial soul palace, and naturally, she wouldn't have suffered such a tragic experience. Perhaps this matter was very complicated, and it wasn't entirely the master's fault. However, people were always selfish and would always side with their own people. Naturally, in Lu Yuan's opinion, the master had wronged Bibi Don. Therefore, Lu Yuan wouldn't have a good impression of the master. Thinking of this, Lu Yuan's figure slowly approached. "Boss Yuan, you're back." Ma Hongjuan's eyes were sharp, and he immediately saw Lu Yuan's figure. As soon as Ma Hongjun said this, the rest of the people all looked at Lu Yuan. Seeing Lu Yuan, Zhu Zhuqing's eyes flashed with joy. Then, she seemed to have thought of something, and her expression turned cold. Ning Rongrong's eyes flickered, and no one knew what she was thinking. Oscar nodded at Lu Yuan as usual, and his peach blossom eyes flashed with a hint of ambiguity occasionally. He seemed to be curious about what Lu Yuan had been doing for the past 3 days. Xiao Wu looked at Tang San, who was beside her, and then looked at Lu Yuan's gradually approaching figure. There was a hint of hostility in her eyes. Tang San looked at Lu Yuan with a complicated expression. He had been utterly defeated by Lu Yuan. He had even used a hidden weapon, but in the end, he was still utterly defeated. He couldn't even force out Lu Yuan's martial soul. Furthermore, Lu Yuan was so ruthless in the end and directly broke a few of his ribs, causing him to be bedridden for a few days. Tang San still had some resentment towards Lu Yuan in his heart. After all, no one was a saint. However, Tang San still didn't seem to understand the reason why Lu Yuan was suddenly so angry. Chapter 281. Lu Yuan was only angry because Tang San had included Zhu Zhuqing in his attack. That was all. Perhaps Tang San would go crazy and go berserk when Xiao Wu was hurt. That day, Xiao Wu had used her seduction soul skill on Lu Yuan, which resulted in a backlash. After that, Tang San went crazy and used a hidden weapon on Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan was even more extreme than Tang San. He wouldn't go crazy when his woman was hurt. He would use a thunderous method to kill the danger before it sprouted. Therefore, when Tang San used his hidden weapon that day, he included Zhu Zhuqing. Lu Yuan went crazy on the spot and beat Tang San up. Lu Yuan naturally didn't care about their gazes. He glanced around and walked in Zhu Zhuqing's direction. He stopped beside Zhu Zhuqing. Lu Yuan started to size up the people in front of him. More accurately, he was sizing up the master. The master was still the same as before. He was thin, and his face was stiff. He looked ordinary. In any case, he wasn't handsome at all. He didn't know how the master had won the hearts of the two beauties, Bibi Don and Lu Erlong. Could it be that this wooden-looking master had some special tricks up his sleeve? After all, he wasn't like Lu Yuan, who only needed a face to pick up girls. Of course, Lu Yuan's ability to attract so many girls was inseparable from his strength. After all, if he didn't have strong strength to support him, he would only be a pretty boy no matter how handsome he was. His gaze flashed past the master. The master's arrival made him even more determined to leave. Although he had escaped the influence of the god-slaying spear and didn't have the urge to kill the master, he was reminded of Bibidon's tragic experience every time he saw the master. He was afraid that if he looked at the master's face too much, he wouldn't be able to control himself and beat him up. Furthermore, he had to look at this face every day. He thought about it and decided to forget about it. Lu Yuan turned around and looked at Zhu Zhuqing beside him. Even after seeing that he had returned, she still had such a cold expression on her face. Lu Yuan sighed inwardly. As expected, Zhuqing must be jealous after not returning for 3 days. Paying attention to Zhu Zhuqing's expression, Lu Yuan's hand slowly climbed up Zhu Zhuqing's small hand, holding Zhu Zhuqing's jade hand in his palm. Zhu Zhuqing's delicate body trembled slightly, but she didn't struggle. Her beautiful face was still cold. Since she didn't struggle, it means that Zhuqing isn't completely angry. She'll be fine after some coaxing. Lu Yuan heaved a sigh of relief. Lu Yuan, you came back just in time. Let me introduce you to someone. He's called the Great Master, and he's my good brother. Flinder smiled when he saw that Lu Yuan had returned. After all, Lu Yuan was now the most outstanding student in Shrek Academy. I know him. In the face of Flinder's enthusiasm, Lu Yuan's expression was indifferent. He had known the master for 8 or 9 years. From the initial closeness to the current slight disgust, the change could not be said to be small. The relationship between the two of them had long since faded. Hello, Obuchi. We meet again. The great master carefully sized up Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan had changed a lot, and his temperament was even more extraordinary. Furthermore, according to Flinder, Lu Yuan's strength had reached the level of a soul ancestor, and he was a 10,000-year soul master with 3 or 4 rings. To be honest, the great master didn't dare to believe this news when he heard it. After all, a 10,000-year soul master with 3 or 4 rings was simply too shocking. This had completely surpassed the limits of an ordinary soul master. His research and theories had never been applicable to Lu Yuan. This was because every time something happened to Lu Yuan, his theories would be completely destroyed. Originally, he really wanted to accept Lu Yuan as his disciple. After all, the Golden Dragon martial soul was too powerful. This was a martial soul that belonged to the legends, and it actually appeared in Lu Yuan's body. How could he now want to research it? Now, it was proven that the Golden Dragon was indeed incomparably powerful. Tang San, who he carefully taught, was actually unable to resist Lu Yuan at all. This caused the great master to sigh endlessly. Originally, he thought that Tang San's blue silver grass could be comparable to Lu Yuan's golden dragon after cultivating to a certain level and then adding the clear sky hammer with 10,000-year soul rings and above. Although both the blue silver grass and the clear sky hammer were far inferior to the golden dragon, the existence of twin martial souls allowed Tang San to have 10,000-year soul rings and above. Even if the gap between martial souls was large, the advantage of soul rings was enough to eliminate the gap between martial souls. But now, it seemed that this might not be the case. Lu Yuan's third ring was already 10,000 year. Then, the soul rings after that would be at least 10,000 year. In this way, Tang San didn't seem to have much of an advantage over Lu Yuan in terms of soul ring combination. In a situation where the soul ring combination was about the same, could the clear sky hammer be a match for the golden dragon? The great master had some doubts in his heart. Maybe it really couldn't. As for the blue silver grass, the great master had always treated it as a trash martial soul. He didn't have any plans to let Tang San cultivate the blue silver grass to a high level. As long as Tang San reached rank 60, he could switch to cultivating the clear sky hammer. This was the great master's goal. After all, in the great master's opinion, although Tang San had innate full soul power, the blue silver grass was still a trash martial soul. Its development prospects were far inferior to the clear sky hammer. There were no trash martial souls, only trash soul masters. It sounded very encouraging, but there was still a huge gap between a trash martial soul and a top martial soul. And Lu Yuan nodded lightly. His expression wasn't very enthusiastic. He didn't want to have too much to do with the great master right now. Seeing Lu Yuan's indifferent expression, the great master was a little embarrassed. He didn't know why Lu Yuan was so cold to him now. When they were young, his relationship with Lu Yuan was still very good. It seemed that after not seeing each other for so many years, their relationship had become distant. I heard that you're now a rank 46 soul ancestor. Congratulations, the great master said. Thank you. I have a very good teacher. She taught me a lot, Lu Yuan said indifferently. After Lu Yuan said this, the great master became even more embarrassed. Lu Yuan was now rank 46, and Tang San was rank 29. The two of them had obviously gone a hunt for their first soul ring at the same time. The gap was too big. Could it be that Lu Yuan's teacher's teaching ability was really so much better than his? May I know which senior and expert your teacher is? The great master asked. To be honest, the great master was very curious about this person who could teach Lu Yuan to his current state. Sorry, my teacher doesn't allow me to reveal her name, Lu Yuan said. So, what's like that? The great master said regretfully. Lu Yuan turned around and swept his gaze over to Flender. Dean, did everyone gather here today to welcome the great master? Flender shook his head and said, this is only the first thing. The other thing is that Oscar is already rank 30. We're preparing to make a trip to the Great Stardow Forest to help him obtain a soul ring. Oh, Lu Yuan was shocked. Finally, we've reached this step. Chapter 282. He glanced at Tang San and Xiao Wu. Perhaps you'll have to part ways in this trip to the Great Stardow Forest. Don't blame me for being cruel. Blame it on our different standpoints. We can only be enemies. Also, I can save Xiao Wu's life by doing this. Tang San is going to die anyway, so why bother killing Xiao Wu? I can only hope that the Sky, Azure Bull Python, and Titan Giant Ape can help. Lu Yuan thought to himself. But Oscar broke through rank 30? This was good news. After all, he had a good relationship with Oscar. Congratulations, Oscar. You're the first food-type soul master to become a soul elder at the age of 14. Lu Yuan said, you flatter me. I'm still far from you. Oscar chuckled, but there was a trace of happiness in his voice. After all, breaking through is something to be happy about for any soul master, let alone breaking through to become a soul elder. Huh, Lu Yuan smiled. I'm not lying. You're the most talented food-type soul master I've ever seen. Oscar's talent was still decent. He was probably the only food-type soul master on the continent with innate full soul power. As long as he could cultivate to the level of a titled Douluo, he would be able to take the food god's test. It could be said that Oscar had the potential to become a god. In the original Shrek's 7 monsters, only 2 people had the chance to become a god if they didn't have the immortal herb. One was Tang San, and the other was Oscar. Of course, things are different now. In Shrek Academy, apart from Lu Yuan, Zhu Zhuqing's talent was probably the best. Her superb martial soul, the 9 Lives Lynx, was already at rank 37 at the age of 12. Her talent surpassed everyone else. She was even on the same level as Tang San. After all, twin martial souls were rare, but superb martial souls were just as hard to find. Everyone was surprised to hear that Oscar had broken through to rank 30. After all, food-type soul masters were very difficult to cultivate. It wasn't easy to reach this level at such a young age. Dean, is that all? Lu Yuan asked. Yes. Flender waved his hand. You can all go back. Rest well today. We'll set off tomorrow. Since Flender already said so, then everyone naturally dispersed too. Tang San and Xiao Wu approached the Grandmaster. Ma Hongjun and Oscar left together. Dai Mubai disappeared without a trace, as if he didn't dare to meet Lu Yuan face to face. Moreover, Dai Mubai's face still had a few bloody scars. How could the wounds caused by the Netherworld Soul breaking claw be so easily healed? At the very least, Dai Mubai would have to wait for a period of time before he could recover. During this period of time, he could only bear this slightly disfigured face. Lu Yuan was too lazy to bother with them. He pulled Zhu Zhuqing's hand and walked towards his wooden house. Ning Rongrong looked at the scattered crowd and lightly stomped her feet. Then, she chased after Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing. It couldn't be helped. She was the most familiar with Lu Yuan in the entire academy. Ta! Lu Yuan stopped and turned to look at Ning Rongrong. Why are you following us? I have nowhere to go if I don't follow you. Ning Rongrong said with a smile. Can't you just go back to your dorm? Lu Yuan said. I'm the only one in the dorm. I can't stay there. Ning Rongrong said. Hearing this, Lu Yuan frowned slightly and said, I have some private things to say to Zhuqing. It's not convenient for you to follow us. Is it about the girl in the Great Soul Arena that day? Ning Rongrong giggled, her eyes glowing with a strange brilliance. It has nothing to do with you. Lu Yuan said faintly. I'm just concerned about you. Lu Yuan, do you have 2 girlfriends? Ning Rongrong looked at Lu Yuan curiously. I have 3 girlfriends now. Are you satisfied? Lu Yuan's tone was indifferent. How could he not know what Ning Rongrong was thinking? Wasn't she just trying to chase him? But even if she wanted to chase him, she had to consider the occasion. Zhu Zhuqing was still in front of him. Moreover, he had left for 3 days. She was already angry and jealous. Now that she was provoked by him, wouldn't she be even angrier? It was quite troublesome to coax her. 3 girlfriends? Ning Rongrong looked at Lu Yuan with some surprise. She didn't expect this guy to really dare to say it out loud. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing's appearance, it seemed that she already knew it. How'd this guy do it? I also know what you're thinking. As you can see, I'm a scumbag with 3 girlfriends, so you don't have to waste your effort on me. It's not worth it. Lu Yuan looked at Ning Rongrong's surprised expression and took the initiative to explain everything to Ning Rongrong, expressing his refusal. After saying that, he didn't care about what Ning Rongrong thought. He pulled Zhu Zhuqing and walked away. Anyway, he had finished speaking. No matter what Ning Rongrong thought, it was none of his business. Looking at Lu Yuan's receding figure, Ning Rongrong chuckled and said, "How can a scumbag call himself a scumbag? If you want me to give up, I won't give up. There's nothing I can't get what I want. You are the same." Ning Rongrong clenched her small fists. Her eyes were persistent and firm. How could she give up so easily? She was a little witch. He pulled Zhu Zhuqing all the way back to their residence. He pushed open the door and entered Zhu Zhuqing's wooden house. Zhu Zhuqing sat down at the head of the bed. A pair of big, black eyes stared straight at Lu Yuan. "Zhuqing, if you have something to say, just say it. Don't keep it in your heart. It's not good for your health," Lu Yuan said softly. "In the past 3 days, have you already done it with Chihiro Snow?" Zhu Zhuqing asked. Lu Yuan nodded. There was no need to hide this kind of thing. It would happen sooner or later. "Oh, I also guessed a little," Zhu Zhuqing said softly. "Zhuqing." Lu Yuan took 2 steps forward and sat beside Zhu Zhuqing. He held Zhu Zhuqing in his arms and asked softly, "Are you jealous?" Zhu Zhuqing nodded and buried her small head in Lu Yuan's arms. She said, "I know this kind of thing will happen sooner or later, but when I face it personally, I still feel a little uncomfortable." Hearing Zhu Zhuqing's words, Lu Yuan was silent. "Lu Yuan," Zhu Zhuqing raised her head slightly. "What's wrong, Zhuqing?" Lu Yuan looked at Zhu Zhuqing in confusion. "Kiss me." Zhu Zhuqing blushed and took the initiative to make this request. "Okay." Lu Yuan lowered his head slightly and covered Zhu Zhuqing's red lips. He explored with force. Half an hour later, Zhu Zhuqing covered her breasts with both hands and looked at Lu Yuan in confusion. "Why don't you want me anymore? You're still young. Wait for 2 years." Lu Yuan said softly. "Can you hold it in?" Zhu Zhuqing looked at Lu Yuan with some confusion. She had already experienced Lu Yuan's toughness just now. Facing a great beauty like her, could he hold it in? Chapter 283. It wasn't that Zhu Zhuqing was arrogant, but her figure was definitely one of the best among women. She was fiery and hot, and coupled with her cold expression, her allure to men was unparalleled. Furthermore, Lu Yuan was obviously very strong in that aspect. It would be strange if he could resist. "Even if I can't resist, I still have to. I can't eat you now. You haven't fully developed yet." Lu Yuan kissed Zhu Zhuqing's forehead and said, "It's not good for your body to do that too early." Lu Yuan. Zhu Zhuqing was a little touched. She hugged Lu Yuan's shoulder and rubbed her full body proudly on Lu Yuan's arm. That comfortable feeling caused the desire that Lu Yuan had suppressed to rise again. He had no choice but to secretly circulate the clear breath scripture to calm his mind. Hugging Zhu Zhuqing's delicate body in his arms, Lu Yuan bitterly laughed and said, "Zhuqing, don't move anymore. I'm afraid that I really can't resist." The Golden Dragon bloodline was indeed very powerful, and it was also very talented in that aspect. Being too strong was also a troublesome thing. Back when he was with Chihiro Snow was completely unable to resist. Now that Zhu Zhuqing was moving in his arms, he could only look and not eat. Needless to say, it was very uncomfortable. "Are you really uncomfortable?" Zhu Zhuqing blinked her large eyes. "Of course, it's not like you don't know how great your charm is," Lu Yuan said helplessly. "And is that so?" Zhu Zhuqing muttered to herself for a while. There was a look of struggle on her face, as if she had made a difficult decision. She wriggled out of Lu Yuan's arms and crawled down, her small head gently lowered. Woo! Lu Yuan's expression changed. His expression was a little strange, as if he was uncomfortable, but also as if he was enjoying it. He raised his right hand and gently rubbed Zhu Zhuqing's head. How is it? Does it still hurt? Seeing Zhu Zhuqing holding her cheek, Lu Yuan asked with concern. What do you think? Zhu Zhuqing looked at Lu Yuan reproachfully. How could this guy be so strong? He actually lasted for so long. Even her cheeks were hurting badly. I'm sorry, Zhuqing. Lu Yuan gently stroked Zhu Zhuqing's hair. Letting Zhu Zhuqing do this kind of thing was really a bit unfair to her. I don't feel wronged, as long as you treat me well for the rest of my life. Zhu Zhuqing looked at Lu Yuan, her eyes filled with deep affection. Yes, I will treat you well for the rest of my life. Lu Yuan smiled and gently kissed Zhu Zhuqing's forehead. His right hand gently massaged Zhu Zhuqing's cheeks. The next day, everyone gathered once again. On the plaza, Flinder looked at everyone with a serious gaze and said, This time, we will be going to the Great Star Doe Forest to hunt for soul rings. The Great Star Doe Forest is an extremely dangerous place, and there are countless 10,000-year soul beasts. Therefore, we must be very careful when we go there to obtain soul rings. This time, Teacher Zhao and I will be leading the team. Master will also be following us. The 8 of you will be in a formation and follow behind us. All right, that's it. Just as Flinder finished speaking, Master's voice rang out again. The Great Star Doe Forest is filled with danger. Therefore, it's best for your formation to be reasonable and scientific. Everyone has their own role to play. This way, you'll be able to unleash the greatest fighting strength. You can choose who to follow. Boss Yuan, you do it. You are the strongest. I believe in you. Ma Hongjun immediately said. Yes, Lu Yuan, you do it. Oscar also said. Yes, yes. Ning Rongrong nodded her little head lightly. There was no need to say much about Zhu Zhuqing. She would definitely support Lu Yuan. In this way, more than half of the people on Lu Yuan's side were already present. Tang San, Xiao Wu, and the others' wishes were no longer important. Since everyone says so, I will make the arrangements. Lu Yuan said. Dai Mubai will lead the way. Tang San, Oscar, and Ning Rongrong will walk in the middle. Zhu Qing and Fatty will be in charge of the left and right wings, respectively. As for Xiao Wu, you will follow beside Ning Rongrong and help protect them. I will be at the back, in charge of covering the rear. Lu Yuan's arrangements were generally reasonable. The most important tasks were to lead the way and cover the rear. Therefore, he and Dai Mubai were at the front and back, respectively. Oscar and Ning Rongrong were auxiliary-type soul masters and needed protection. Therefore, they walked in the middle. Tang San and Xiao Wu were also there to protect them. Furthermore, Tang San was a control-type soul master, so it was better for him to be in the middle. Zhu Zhuqing and Ma Hongjun were fast, while Ma Hongjun had explosive power. They could deal with unexpected situations, so it was just right for them to walk on the sides. No one has any objections, right? Lu Yuan asked after the arrangements were made. No objections. Everyone shook their heads, including Dai Mubai and Tang San. After all, this arrangement was more or less enough. They did not have any better ideas. After all, everyone's tacit understanding was not high. It was good enough that they could form a team. Is everything arranged? Then let's go, Flinder said, and took the lead to leave. Zhao Wuji, Master, and the others followed beside him. Lu Yuan and the rest of the 8 followed behind them. The distance from Shrek Academy to the Great Heaven Doe Forest was not close. At the very least, it would take a lot of time to walk. Everyone walked and rested along the way. After 3 days, they finally arrived outside the Great Star Doe Forest. It was a few days later than the original book, so they did not meet the group from Tsanghui Academy. Everyone smoothly arrived outside the Great Star Doe Forest. Let's go in, Flinder said softly. Then he strode forward, and everyone followed closely behind and began to enter the Great Star Doe Forest. After a year, entering the great star Doe forest again really felt like it was just a day ago. Nothing here had changed. He touched the silver reverse scale in his arms through his clothes. Lu Yuan's thoughts raced as he wondered how her injuries had healed. Just as Lu Yuan touched the silver reverse scale, a beautiful figure in the lake of life opened her purple eyes. Feeling that familiar aura, the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. "Are you back?" Touching her own heart, she could understand Lu Yuan's situation through the reverse scale. Now, Lu Yuan's heart was beating very vigorously, indicating that he was in a good condition. Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly. If his senses were not wrong, Guyuna's silver reverse scale seemed to be heating up. Could it be that Guyuna discovered that he was here? Reaching into his clothes, the silver reverse scale was indeed emitting a faint warmth. It was completely different from its usual coldness. It seemed that it was because he came to the Great Stardow Forest and was close to Guyuna. Thinking of Guyuna, Lu Yuan's heart was slightly complicated. He liked her, but also a little fearful. She must have felt that he came this time. So should he go and see her? Lu Yuan hesitated, but looking at Zhu Zhuqing, he dismissed his thoughts. The Great Stardow Forest was too dangerous. Lu Yuan still had to protect Zhu Zhuqing. As for Guyuna, there would be time to meet her in the future. Moreover, she might be recovering from her injuries now, so it would not be good to disturb her. Chapter 284. As Lu Yuan thought about this, he withdrew his hand from his chest and followed the group forward. It was a little difficult to find a suitable soul ring, even though they were in the Great Stardow Forest. Furthermore, Oscar was a soul elder, which meant that he needed a 1,000-year soul ring. 1,000-year soul beasts were very rare in the periphery of the Great Stardow Forest. Even if 1,000-year soul beasts were in the periphery of the Great Stardow Forest, they were closer to the center of the periphery, where most 1,000-year soul beasts were active. With everyone's speed, they would still need some time to walk. The sky gradually darkened, and the Great Stardow Forest at night was very dangerous. Everyone could only find a place to rest. They didn't light a bonfire and ate the rations that they had brought with them as they found a place to sit. It wasn't a big deal to light a bonfire in an ordinary soul-hunting forest, but the Great Stardow Forest was exceptionally dangerous. Even though it was in the periphery, the chances of powerful soul beasts appearing were very small, but it wasn't impossible. This was especially so now that they were gradually approaching the area where 1,000-year soul beasts were active. If they attracted the attention of powerful soul beasts or a large-scale beast wave, because of a bonfire, the two soul sages wouldn't be able to deal with it. When Lu Yuan dared to light a bonfire in the Great Stardow Forest, it was because Long Xiaoyao was by his side. Long Xiaoyao was one of the most powerful individuals in the world, and even Di Tian couldn't kill him in the Great Stardow Forest. Even though Long Xiaoyao was still following Lu Yuan in secret, he was only protecting him in secret and couldn't expose himself. After finding a tree to sit on, Lu Yuan took out a few rations and held them in his hands. His palms were slightly warm, and he warmed them up before passing them to Zhu Zhuqing, who was also sitting beside him. Zhuqing. Lu Yuan passed the rations to Zhu Zhuqing, and Zhu Zhuqing reached out to take them. Ever since what happened last night, the two of them had become closer. They didn't hide anything when they interacted in front of others, and their relationship had improved. "Do you want some?" She passed the dry food in her hand to the right. She didn't know what Ning Rongrong was thinking, but she actually sat directly next to her. Lu Yuan was really bold. He dared to chase after her in front of Zhu Zhuqing. Fortunately, Zhu Zhuqing had a good temper. If it was Chihiro Snow, who had a strong temper, Lu Yuan didn't dare to imagine what would happen. "Yes." Ning Rongrong smiled and took the rations. When she felt the temperature of the rations, she was surprised. "It's actually hot. It's just a small ability of the Golden Dragon Martial Spirit. It's a simple application of the Qi and Blood Force." Lu Yuan said. "Vitality Force? What is this?" Ning Rongrong blinked her eyes. Weren't they all cultivating soul power? What was this Qi and Blood Force? Lu Yuan stared at Ning Rongrong speechlessly. She was clearly from a prestigious sect, like the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. Why did she give people the feeling that she was ignorant and incompetent? She must have been lazy when she was studying. Vitality force wasn't something rare. As long as one had a gold-type martial spirit, such as the Golden Crocodile King, they would more or less be related to vitality force. He didn't believe that the Seven Treasures Glazed sect didn't know about it. It seemed that Ning Rongrong had been joking around when she was studying. She really didn't know how lucky she was. The knowledge of martial spirits, especially the truly high-end knowledge, was something that ordinary spirit masters wouldn't be able to come in contact with in their lifetime. But these aristocratic children could learn it from birth, and they didn't cherish it. Sigh. Lu Yuan sighed. But thinking about it, wasn't everything in a world like this? They didn't know how to cherish things that could be obtained easily. He didn't explain to Ning Rongrong what vitality force was, and he wasn't interested. He picked up the dry food and took a bite. It had to be said that the dry food was much softer and more delicious after being roasted. It wasn't as hard as when it was cold, and it was a little hard to eat. Drink some water. A cold voice with a hint of concern came from beside him. Lu Yuan turned around and saw Zhu Zhuqing's slightly cold face. She was holding a water bottle in her hand. The water bottle was black, as dark as the night. Zhu Zhuqing seemed to love the color black. Everything she wore and everything around her seemed to be completely black. You're asking how Lu Yuan found out? Don't ask. Hee. He took the water bottle. There was a faint lipstick mark on the mouth of the water bottle. It was obvious that Zhu Zhuqing had left it. He looked at Zhu Zhuqing in astonishment. Zhu Zhuqing blushed and lowered her head slightly. Lu Yuan smiled and tilted his head back to take a big swig of water. He didn't know if it was a psychological effect, but he felt that the water was sweet. After returning the water bottle to Zhu Zhuqing, Lu Yuan habitually hugged Zhu Zhuqing's waist. It felt pretty good to have a beauty in his arms. Zhu Zhuqing didn't struggle. Her face was slightly red, and she continued to eat the dry rations in her hand slowly. After a moment, Lu Yuan finished the dry rations in his right hand and shook his fingers lightly. Suddenly, Lu Yuan's eyes moved. With the astonishing eyesight of his polychoria, he discovered that there seemed to be a soul beast in the distance. Furthermore, it was flying towards them. There seemed to be something chasing behind it. Everyone, be careful. There's a soul beast approaching. Lu Yuan immediately shouted. Everyone immediately became alert. What soul beast? Where is it? Flender immediately asked. Flender didn't find it strange that only Lu Yuan had discovered the soul beast. This was because he knew Lu Yuan's strength very well. He wasn't much weaker than him and Zhao Wuji. He definitely had the fighting strength of a soul sage. Furthermore, he was very adept at using spiritual power. Lu Yuan's polychoria shone faintly and said, It's a 1500-year flying owl. It's in the northeast. There's a red flame golden eagle behind it. Judging from its size, it should be around 5,000 years old. Flying owl. This soul beast is very suitable for Oscar. Grandmaster nodded and said, Furthermore, its age is just right. It's a very good soul ring. As for the 50-100-year red flame golden eagle, its strength should be comparable to a soul king because it's a top-tier soul beast. However, it won't affect us much. Lu Yuan said, What a joke. Grandmaster couldn't be the only one who could act pretentious. Then let's get ready. I'll be in charge of that red flame golden eagle. As for the flying owl, I'll leave it to you guys. Flender said, Okay. Everyone nodded. Shah. The flying owl flew closer and closer. They could hear the sound of it colliding with the trees as it flew. Do it, Lu Yuan shouted. Everyone immediately went berserk. Lu Yuan stomped on the ground, and his body instantly flew forward. His fist flickered with golden light as he punched the flying owl. Chapter 285. Was there a need for any tactical arrangements in a battle? Lu Yuan didn't need any. All he had to do was be rash. Lu Yuan was very fast, and his golden fist had already landed on the flying owl's head before it could even react. Immediately, the flying owl's body was smashed into the ground by Lu Yuan's fist, and there was a loud bang. The battle was already over before Dai moved by, and the rest could even make a move. To the current Lu Yuan, a 1,000-year soul beast was a piece of cake. Landing lightly on the ground, Lu Yuan swung his arm and kicked the flying owl to Oscar. Lu Yuan, be careful. Just as Lu Yuan turned around, Zhu Zhuqing's anxious voice could be heard. Feeling the strong wind behind him, Lu Yuan didn't even turn his head. Instead, he used a roundhouse kick. Dong! A large eagle with golden feathers with raging flames was sent flying by Lu Yuan's kick. It was the 5,000-year scarlet golden light eagle that was chasing after the flying owl. Before Flinder could make a move, it was sent flying by Lu Yuan's kick. The scarlet golden light eagle was also a top-tier soul beast. Its 5,000-year cultivation was enough to fight against ordinary 10,000-year soul beasts. Its strength was roughly equivalent to a human soul king. However, a soul king wasn't considered a threat to Lu Yuan right now. He was strong enough to fight against a soul sage. Furthermore, did he think that his weight of 65,000 kilograms was a joke? Wow, this strength! Ma Hongjun clicked his tongue in admiration. Being able to send a 3-meter-long soul beast flying with a kick was a little too impactful. Oscar, why aren't you making a move? Why are you looking at me? Lu Yuan said indifferently. Oh, right? Oscar reacted instantly. He took out a dagger and stabbed it into the flying owl's vitals. The 1,500-year flying owl died immediately. Xiao couldn't bear to see Oscar's actions. Do we really have to hunt soul beasts? As long as the soul master profession exists, as long as soul masters still need soul rings, this situation will not change unless we can change the current cultivation system. When soul masters can cultivate without soul rings, this problem will naturally not exist. Lu Yuan said meaningfully. Soul masters don't need soul rings to cultivate? How is that possible? Ning Rongrong couldn't help but ask. Yeah, that's why I'm just saying, Lu Yuan said faintly. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Xiao Wu sank into silence. Indeed, as long as a soul master needed a soul ring, it was impossible not to hunt soul beasts. The relationship between soul masters and soul beasts would always be in a state of conflict. Lu Yuan walked back to Zhu Zhuqing's side. Boss Yuan, that 5,000-year scarlet flame golden eagle, seemed to have taken the opportunity to escape. I don't know why the dean didn't chase after it and allowed it to escape. Ma Hongjun asked doubtfully. Do any of you need the scarlet flame golden eagle's soul ring? Lu Yuan asked. Oh no, Ma Hongjun shook his head. Since there's no need, then why kill them? You have to know that the more you kill, the fewer soul beasts there are, and the more soul masters there are. The growth of soul beasts is far slower than us humans. As time passes, if we don't pay attention to protecting soul beasts and wantonly kill them, our descendants will sooner or later fall into a predicament where they don't have soul rings to use. Do you understand? Lu Yuan said. Yes. Everyone nodded. Obuchi is right. I didn't expect you to have such high awareness. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Grandmaster nodded. What he said was very reasonable. You flatter me. This is just my opinion. Lu Yuan said faintly. Grandmaster didn't know how to respond when he saw Lu Yuan's calm tone. Everyone, go back to your seats. Those who need to sleep, go back to sleep. I'll protect Oscar. Flinder took the initiative to speak up as if he saw Grandmaster's awkwardness. Since Flinder had spoken, everyone could only return to their seats. The sky was already dark, and everyone was actually a little sleepy. Since the dean was protecting them, they might as well take a break first. After returning to their original spot, Lu Yuan sat down. Zhu Zhuqing quietly leaned on Lu Yuan's shoulder and hugged Lu Yuan's arm with both hands. Go to sleep, Zhuqing. You're exhausted today, Lu Yuan said as he gently caressed Zhu Zhuqing's cheek. Okay. Zhu Zhuqing nodded lightly and closed her beautiful eyes. The cold night wind blew through the leaves, creating a rustling sound. Lu Yuan opened his eyes, and his star ring flashed. A snow-white fur coat appeared, and Lu Yuan gently draped it over Zhu Zhuqing's body. This was made from the fur of the illusory demonic fox. This was a gift for Zhu Zhuqing. It was just that Lu Yuan had forgotten about it as time passed. He only recalled it when he was woken up by the cold wind tonight. He looked into the distance and realized that everyone had already fallen asleep. Only Flinder was still protecting Oscar. Even Grandmaster Hoa had fallen asleep. Suddenly, Lu Yuan's vision turned black, and Long Xiaoyao's figure appeared. Lu Yuan furrowed his brow, and the vast sea cosmic shroud flew into his palm. A bright blue light shroud surrounded him, Long Xiaoyao, and Zhu Zhuqing. Now that it was so quiet outside, even the slightest sound could disturb everyone, let alone talk. Inside the vast sea cosmic shroud, no sound could be transmitted outside. Furthermore, no one could see what was going on inside. Elder Long, why are you looking for me so late at night? Lu Yuan asked. Master, I discovered that Tang Hao is following you in secret. That's why I'm here to inform you. Long Xiaoyao said. Tang Hao, isn't he still lying in bed? Lu Yuan was a little surprised. Didn't Long Xiaoyao say that Tang Hao had to lie in bed for at least half a month before he could get out of bed? How could he follow them all of a sudden? Originally, he could only lie in bed. However, after that Grandmaster came 3 days ago, Flinder brought him to see Tang Hao. He even invited a healing-type soul master who's a soul emperor to treat Tang Hao's injuries. That's why Tang Hao's external injuries are almost healed, even though his internal injuries are still very serious. Theoretically, he can only walk freely after lying in bed for half a month. However, if he wants to force himself to walk, he can do so now. It's just that he's barely able to do so. Furthermore, he can only unleash the strength of an ordinary titled Douluo. Long Xiaoyao said, he's indeed a Grandmaster. He's actually willing to spend so much money on a healing-type soul emperor. That's not cheap. Furthermore, Tang Hao seems to care a lot about his son. He's clearly injured, but he's still forcing himself to follow behind them. Lu Yuan laughed as he spoke. Chapter 286. In fact, Lu Yuan understood why Tang Hao followed them. In the original novel, Tang Hao taught Zhao Wuji a lesson and gave him some pointers before he left. That was because he had already entrusted Tang San to Zhao Wuji and Flinder, and he was more at ease. That was why he left so decisively. However, he didn't even talk to Zhao Wuji, Flinder, and the rest before he was severely injured by Long Xiaoyao. With Lu Yuan as an unstable factor, Tang Hao naturally couldn't be at ease. After all, Lu Yuan had injured Tang San before, and he had also been taught a lesson by Long Xiaoyao. Tang San was Tang Hao's only hope now. He naturally couldn't abandon Tang San's safety. The Great Stardow Forest was so dangerous, and Lu Yuan and Long Xiaoyao were following them. With Tang Hao's character, it would be weird if he didn't worry. Although he wasn't Long Xiaoyao's match, he could still stop Long Xiaoyao with his explosive bracelet and allow Tang San to escape safely. Perhaps this was Tang Hao's real intention. Although Tang Hao would die if his bracelet were to explode, Long Xiaoyao had no choice. Lu Yuan thought to himself, Master, do you want me to deal with him? Long Xiaoyao asked. Tang Hao thought that he had hidden himself very well. However, he didn't know that Long Xiaoyao had already discovered his tracks. Trying to play tricks in front of an ultimate Douluo was like trying to show off in front of a master. He was overestimating himself. However, it was also possible that Tang Hao knew that Long Xiaoyao would discover his tracks. However, he had no choice but to come because of Tang San. That was because he couldn't be at ease. Perhaps he thought that it was fine if he died, as long as Tang San was fine. This wasn't impossible. Lu Yuan's thoughts wandered as he thought about all sorts of things. As he thought about Long Xiaoyao's words, Lu Yuan shook his head and said, Forget it. As long as he doesn't cause trouble, we don't have to bother about him. Yes, Master, Long Xiaoyao replied. Yes, Elder Long. I'll have to trouble you to protect him later. I have a feeling that something's going to happen. Lu Yuan winked at Long Xiaoyao and said, Yes, my lord. Long Xiaoyao immediately understood what Lu Yuan meant. Since the rabbit called Xiao Wu was here, the gorilla and the bull python would definitely make a move. After all, the aura of a 100,000-year-old beast was extremely unique. They must have sensed the little rabbit the moment it entered. It was just as obvious as the aura of the golden dragon bloodline. Perhaps Di Tian had already sensed Lu Yuan's arrival, but without Gu Yuna's orders, Di Tian couldn't do anything. Thinking of Gu Yuna, Lu Yuan stroked the silver reverse scale on his chest. He didn't know why, but he wanted to see her. But if he wanted to see her, then what about Zhu Zhuqing's safety? Lu Yuan had to stop thinking about it. Zhu Zhuqing's safety was more important. Master, I'll take my leave first, Long Xiaoyao said. Yes, go. Lu Yuan nodded. After removing the vast sea cosmic barrier, Long Xiaoyao's figure suddenly disappeared. After that, the blue light flashed again and enveloped Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing. As he gently caressed Zhu Zhuqing's face, Lu Yuan said softly, "Since you're awake, don't pretend to be asleep." Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing immediately opened her eyes. You heard everything? Lu Yuan laughed. Yes. Zhu Zhuqing nodded gently. Is that the Dragon Emperor Douluo? Zhu Zhuqing asked. Yes, he's been protecting us in secret. Lu Yuan said. He's been here all along. Zhu Zhuqing opened her eyes wide, and there was a hint of astonishment in her eyes. She asked, Last night he was here too? When she thought about how someone was watching what she and Lu Yuan were doing last night, Zhu Zhuqing felt very uncomfortable. She was so embarrassed that she wanted to die. Of course not. Elder Long wouldn't do something like that. He's very law-abiding. Lu Yuan laughed. Really? After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Zhu Zhuqing's expression became a lot better. Of course. Lu Yuan gently scratched Zhu Zhuqing's nose and said, Otherwise, even I would be very embarrassed, let alone you. How could I let others see something like that? That's more like it. Zhu Zhuqing muttered softly. After a moment of silence, Zhu Zhuqing asked, Has the vast sky been following us? Yeah, maybe he's worried about me. After all, I beat Tang San into a dead dog, and he was beaten into a dead dog by Elder Long. It's normal for him to be wary of me, Lu Yuan said. He was clearly the one who didn't care about his pride and bullied the weak. He deserved to be beaten up like that. The vast sky Douluo really has a great reputation. How could he do something like that? He's really a disgrace to all titled Douluos. Zhu Zhuqing said in an indignant voice. Lu Yuan chuckled at the sight of Zhu Zhuqing's angry expression. This little kitten is really too cute. Lu Yuan kissed Zhu Zhuqing's lips and said, It's fine. With Elder Long protecting us, Tang Hao is just a small fry. It's fine if he doesn't cause trouble, but if he does, we'll just kill him. Yes. Zhu Zhuqing nodded gently. After hugging Zhu Zhuqing tightly in his arms, Lu Yuan withdrew the soul power in his hand. The vast sea cosmic shroud flew back into Lu Yuan's forehead, and the two of them were revealed again. Zhu Zhuqing looked curiously at the vast sea cosmic shroud in Lu Yuan's hand. Lu Yuan had mentioned it to her before, but this was her first time seeing it. It was indeed very magical. Hua Yuhao glanced at Oscar, who was not far away. His soul power undulations had stabilized and were slowly calming down. It seemed like he was nearing the end of his absorption. After a few minutes, Oscar opened his eyes. His soul ring absorption had come to an end. There was a look of excitement in Oscar's eyes. The Flying Owl Soul Ring had given Oscar a very good soul skill. After Oscar finished absorbing his soul ring, Flender heaved a sigh of relief. Protecting others was actually a very tiring task, as it required one's spiritual power to be very focused. One couldn't let go of even the slightest disturbance. Otherwise, Lu Yuan wouldn't have used the vast sea cosmic shroud to isolate his conversation with Long Xiaoyao. Wasn't it because he was worried that their conversation would be overheard? This was especially so for Flender, as he was the only one who wasn't asleep. Oscar scanned his surroundings and realized that everyone was already asleep. Only Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing were awake. After seeing Oscar's expression, Lu Yuan nodded at him and congratulated him for absorbing his soul ring. Oscar smiled and found a place to sit down. Not long after Oscar sat down, the ground started to tremble. Thumping sounds woke everyone up, and rows of trees started to fall to the sides. Lu Yuan's polychoria focused, and a huge ape appeared in Lu Yuan's eyes. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly, and Lu Yuan's polychoria flashed with a strange light. The show was about to begin. Chapter 287. What kind of monster is this? They watched as rows of trees collapsed, and a humongous soul beast the size of a small hill rushed towards them. Everyone, be on your guard, quick! Flinder's anxious voice rang out, and everyone instantly prepared themselves. Lu Yuan's figure flashed, and he stood at the back of the group. Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong were beside him. He was the one who pulled Zhu Zhuqing, while Ning Rongrong took the initiative to come to his side. Under everyone's gazes, a humongous soul beast walked out from between the fallen trees. Its body was really like a mountain, and its pitch-black fur flickered with a faint luster under the faint light of the moon and stars. Its 4 limbs were on the ground, and even though its body was slightly bent, it was definitely more than 7 meters tall. If it stood upright, it would definitely be more than 15 meters tall. This was a humongous ape, but also resembled an orangutan. It had a pair of lantern-sized eyes that flickered with a yellow light, and its humongous body wasn't very clear in the dark night. Under the faint moonlight, one could see that its body was very majestic, so majestic that it was unimaginable. This was especially true for its terrifyingly strong muscles that were like granite. They bulged like small hills, and one could tell at a glance that they contained immense strength. The king of the forest, the Titan giant ape. The Grand Master naturally recognized the identity of this soul beast immediately. The Titan giant ape? Flinder and the others were shocked. There were very few soul masters in the world of soul masters who didn't know about the Titan giant ape. It was rumored that it was the king of the great star Do forest and was extremely powerful. Even human titled Douluo might not be able to deal with it. Lu Yuan. Zhu Zhuqing pulled Lu Yuan's hand. Zhu Zhuqing was naturally a little afraid of a powerful soul beast like the Titan giant ape. Ning Rongrong was the same, and she hurriedly moved closer to Lu Yuan. It's okay, Zhuqing. Don't forget what I told you. Lu Yuan said softly, and his eyes glanced at the void behind them. Yes. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Zhu Zhuqing immediately understood what Lu Yuan meant. They still had the protection of the Dragon Emperor Douluo, who was an ultimate Douluo. With his protection, even the Titan giant ape couldn't threaten them. She was a lot more relieved. The Titan giant ape is one of the top soul beasts. A 10,000-year soul beast can fight against an ordinary 100,000-year soul beast. This Titan giant ape in front of us has probably reached 50,000 years of cultivation. Flinder, you can't fight it head-on. Don't provoke it. The Grandmaster said to Flinder. Hearing this, Flinder nodded. He stepped forward and said, Honorable King of the Forest, we have no intention of offending you. If this is your territory, we are willing to leave immediately. However, it was useless. The Titan ape acted as if it hadn't heard him and took a few more steps forward. Flinder, Zhao Wuji, and the others instantly raised their vigilance to the maximum, their hearts in their throats. The Titan giant ape lowered its head and swept its yellow eyes across everyone. It paused on Xiao Wu for a while, then glanced at Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan gave it a subtle look, then glanced at Xiao Wu and Tang San, who was beside her. He nodded slightly, then looked at the others and shook his head. Instantly, the Titan giant ape understood what Lu Yuan meant. It only needed to take Xiao Wu away. Other than Tang San, who was beside Xiao Wu, it couldn't hurt anyone else. Although the Titan giant ape was simple and honest, it wasn't stupid. After all, it was a 100,000-year soul beast. It could still see such simple things. As for why the Grandmaster said that the Titan giant ape was a 10,000-year soul beast, it was because the Grandmaster had never seen one before. It was only a guess. The Titan giant ape blinked its large eyes as a response. The Titan giant ape suddenly raised its head to the sky and roared. It beat its chest with its arms, making thumping sounds. Then, it moved its huge feet and pounced in Xiao Wu's direction. Quickly retreat and leave this place. Old Zhao, and I will hold it off. Flender roared and pulled the Grandmaster's shoulder back. Against the Titan giant ape, the Grandmaster couldn't help at all. What use was a rank 29 soul Grandmaster in such a battle? Furthermore, the Grandmaster had 2 soul skills? He couldn't even differentiate between friend and foe. Forget it. As they spoke, the 2 of them released their soul rings. All kinds of soul power were added to their bodies as they pounced towards the Titan giant ape. Zhu Qing, protect Rong Rong for now. Don't go forward. I'll go help the Dean and the others. A resplendent dragon's roar rang out, and Lu Yuan immediately flew forward. Although the Titan giant ape definitely wouldn't hurt anyone, he still had to put on a show. Lu Yuan, be careful. I'll help you guys. Ning Rongrong's soft and firm voice rang out. Of the 7 treasures, the first is strength, the second is speed. The beautiful 7 treasures glazed pagoda appeared in her palm, and 2 streaks of colorful light enveloped Lu Yuan, Zhao Wuji, and the others. Suddenly, Lu Yuan felt that his strength had increased by a notch. His speed and strength had increased by about 30%. The golden dragon spear in his hand flashed, and Lu Yuan entered the battle with an intense aura. Zhu Zhuqing was a little worried as she looked at Lu Yuan. Although the Dragon Emperor Douluo was secretly protecting him, life and death could be decided in an instant in a battle. Even the Dragon Emperor Douluo might not be able to save Lu Yuan in time. However, Lu Yuan wanted her to stay and take care of Ning Rongrong, so she could only follow his instructions. To be honest, in a battle like this, a few Soul Grandmasters and Soul Elders weren't very useful. However, Ning Rongrong was an exception. The 7 treasures glazed pagoda's amplification was indeed unparalleled in the world. Regardless of rank, it increased one's strength by 30%. This was only what Ning Rongrong could achieve right now. Furthermore, every time she entered a higher realm, her supplementary effects would increase by 10%. When she became a soul sage, she would be able to achieve an increase of 80%. This was very frightening. Right now, after enjoying the amplification of the 7 treasures glazed pagoda, Lu Yuan was even more determined to take the 7 treasures glazed sect under his wing. Only a true increase in percentage was what Lu Yuan valued the most. It was also the greatest amplification of Lu Yuan's strength. For example, although the 9-hearted begonia's healing effects were very strong, it didn't directly increase one's strength. What was the use of recovering faster? Was the secret word faster? Directly increasing one's strength was still the most satisfying. Furthermore, if Ning Rongrong's 7 treasures glazed pagoda could evolve into the 9 treasures glazed pagoda, it would be an unprecedented 100% amplification. The increase in her strength would be immeasurable. Lu Yuan was already charging forward, and the others were also using their martial souls. Under such circumstances, who would dare to run away? It would be a humiliation that they would never be able to wash away. Chapter 288. Everyone possessed their martial souls and unleashed their techniques, hoping to injure the Titan giant ape. Ning Rongrong's buffs were only given to Lu Yuan, Flender, and Zhao Wuji. After all, Ning Rongrong's soul power was limited. If she wanted to buff them, she could only give them to the most powerful people. Faced with Lu Yuan and the other 2's attacks, the Titan giant ape only gave them a light slap, and the 3 of them were sent flying. Faced with the Titan giant ape's immense strength, the 3 of them couldn't even withstand a single blow. Perhaps the Titan giant ape had taken into consideration that Lu Yuan was inside, so it had controlled its strength very well. It only sent the 3 of them flying, and none of them were injured. Lu Yuan somersaulted in the air and used his golden dragon spear to support himself as he landed beside Zhu Zhuqing and the others. "Are you all right, Lu Yuan?" Zhu Zhuqing asked softly. Her eyes were filled with worry. "I'm fine." Lu Yuan smiled and looked straight ahead. Zhao Wuji and Flender had already activated their martial soul true bodies and were pouncing forward again. The rest of the people, like Ma Hongjun and Dai Mu Bai, were attacking from afar. If they dared to attack the Titan giant ape, they would be courting death. Tang San controlled his blue silver grass and tried to bind the Titan giant ape. However, the Titan giant ape's defenses were extremely strong, and a few strands of blue silver grass were useless. They were instantly torn apart. Zhao Wuji and Oscar, who had activated their martial soul true bodies, attacked the Titan giant ape ferociously. Zhao Wuji and Flender had activated their martial soul true bodies, and their abilities had instantly risen to the level of ordinary soul, Douluo. Their attacks were as ferocious as tigers. Suddenly, the Titan giant ape roared furiously, and a layer of black light exuded from its body. Its two hands were like palm leaf fans as it slapped Zhao Wuji and Flender away. At the same time, the black light was released and air waves surged. Everyone was swept away. "Be careful!" Lu Yuan's figure flashed, and he pulled Zhu Zhuqing into his arms. At the same time, he looked at Ning Rongrong, who was flying away from him, and reached out his right hand to catch her. He used his Phoenix Dance's 6 illusory techniques and retreated more than 10 meters before he stabilized himself. At this moment, a mournful cry came from Tang San's mouth. "No, Xiao Wu." The Titan giant ape grabbed Xiao Wu's hand and held her in his palm. The Titan giant ape grabbed Xiao Wu and turned to leave. "No, leave Xiao Wu here." Seeing that Xiao Wu had been captured, Tang San's eyes instantly turned bloodshot. Numerous hidden weapons flew towards the Titan giant ape, as if they were free. However, the Titan giant ape's defense was extremely strong. How could a mere hidden weapon break through its defense? It was not like he was one of the top few in the rankings. The current Tang San was still far from that. As if enraged by Tang San's actions, the Titan giant ape swatted down with its paw. "No!" Xiao Wu's sharp voice resounded through the sky. The Titan giant ape blinked its big yellow eyes, as if it had thought of something. Its huge paw lightly slapped the empty ground beside it. Although it did not hit its target, the airwaves stirred up by the enormous pressure directly sent Tang San's body flying, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood in the air. One had to know that Tang San was already injured, and he had not completely recovered. Being blown by the strong wind, he immediately suffered serious injuries. "Brother San." Xiao Wu kept struggling in the Titan giant ape's hands. She wanted to check on Tang San's injuries, but it was useless. She could not break free at all. The Titan giant ape grabbed Xiao Wu and turned to leave. "Xiao Wu." Tang San struggled to get up from the ground. He looked at Xiao Wu in the distance and cried out in a shrill voice. His voice was filled with sorrow. Seeing that Xiao Wu had been taken away, and then the Titan giant ape had also left, the people who had been sent flying slowly climbed to their feet. This was especially true for Flender and Zhao Wuji. They had activated their martial soul true bodies, but they had still been beaten up by the Titan giant ape. They were severely injured, and there was no way they could chase after them. Lu Yuan put down Zhu Zhuqing, who was in his arms, and Ning Rongrong, who was in his hands. Zhu Zhuqing did not react, but Ning Rongrong glared at Lu Yuan. She seemed to be blaming Lu Yuan for only carrying her and not hugging her. Lu Yuan ignored Ning Rongrong's gaze. He sized everyone up, and his eyes flashed slightly. The atmosphere was very quiet right now, so quiet that it was a little strange. Tang San's eyes were blood red, and he had a pained expression on his face. After all, Xiao Wu meant a lot to him. She was the person he treasured the most. Lu Yuan's heart did not waver in the slightest, because this was the result he wanted. Oscar was fulfilling his responsibility as a food-type soul master. He distributed his recovery sausages to everyone to help them heal. At the same time, he talked about his third soul skill in an attempt to divert everyone's attention. After all, Xiao Wu had been taken away by the Titan giant ape. It was impossible to save her, and no one had the ability to do so. Lu Yuan could. After all, Long Xiaoyao was around. However, he was the one who had arranged this. How could he do anything? He wanted to see Tang San and Xiao Wu fall in love, but they could not meet. Only then would he be able to vent the hatred in his heart. After all, his teacher, Cher, senior sister, and Xiao had suffered so much in the original novel. Tang San was involved in all of this. There was no need to say that this was the original plot. Lu Yuan's arrival had already changed everything. It was like knowing that someone would hurt your loved ones in the future. For example, your parents were killed. However, you were reborn and changed your parents' fates. They did not die, but was this the reason why you did not take revenge on the original murderer? As long as you were a normal person, you would be resentful. You were also strong enough. It was normal for you to take revenge at this time. Of course, if you were a saint, you could pretend that I did not say anything. After all, a saint's thoughts could not be understood by ordinary people. After hearing the effects of Oscar's soul skill, Tang San's eyes brightened. He seemed to be planning something. After Oscar distributed his sausages, he returned to his seat. At this moment, Tang San suddenly came close to him. The two of them did not know what to say. However, a pair of black wings suddenly appeared behind Tang San's back. He flew out directly. He was still holding 2 recovery sausages in his hands. "Little San, what are you doing?" The master sounded a little anxious. "I'm sorry, teacher. I have to go and save Xiao Wu. Even if she's already dead, I have to bring her corpse back." Tang San's voice came from afar. With a flap of his black wings, his figure instantly disappeared. "Oscar." The master was a little angry as he looked at Oscar. Oscar laughed bitterly and said, "Master, you've seen Tang San's eyes. Even if we don't let him go, I'm afraid he'll chase after them himself. I understand how he feels. If you want to blame someone, blame me." Sigh. The master sighed when he heard this. Chapter 289. Flender, we have to save Little San now. Otherwise, he will be in danger. The master turned to look at Flender. After all, Tang San was his disciple, and he couldn't give up. Flender spat out a mouthful of blood and said, "Xiao Gang, it's not that we don't want to save him, but we are all seriously injured. Look at Wuji, he can't even stand up. How can we save him? Furthermore, others might not know how strong the Titan Giant Ape is, but don't you know? Even a titled Douluo might not be able to deal with it. Furthermore, there are so many students here. I can't let so many people take the risk for Tang San." Flender said. Zhao Wuji was different from Zhao Wuji. In the original work, when Zhao Wuji saw Tang San flying towards the Titan Giant Ape, he chased after him without thinking too much. This was because Zhao Wuji was very affectionate and had a more impulsive personality. However, Flender was a rational person. He couldn't use the lives of everyone in Shrek Academy to save Tang San alone. This was because he had only known Tang San for a short period of time. Furthermore, with Lu Yuan around, Flender didn't have a good impression of Tang San. After all, when Tang San used hidden weapons, he included his teammates in the attack range. Flender actually had some complaints in his heart. It was just that Tang San was the master's disciple after all, and he couldn't be bothered to care about it. In the original work, Flender and the others directly went against the martial soul palace for Tang San because both sides had deep feelings for each other. Flender was also a very affectionate person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have willingly backed out and let the master and Lu Erlong fall in love, even though the two of them still ended in tragedy. To be honest, Flender was much stronger than the master. His love for Lu Erlong might even be higher than the master's. After hearing Flender's words, the master's face stiffened. Tang San was the person he entrusted all his efforts to. He was an indispensable person to prove his theory. After all, he had twin martial souls that were rarely seen in 100 years. Furthermore, after more than 6 years, his teacher-student relationship with Tang San was quite deep. However, Flender's words made sense. Although the master was anxious, he couldn't force Flender to disregard the safety of so many people. The master's gaze turned, and suddenly, Lu Yuan's figure appeared in front of him. The master looked as if he had seen his savior. He came to Lu Yuan and said, "O Bu Qi, there is one thing I want to ask of you." Lu Yuan frowned when he saw the master's expression. What was this master up to this time? Tell me, but I may not agree. Lu Yuan said indifferently. Can you ask Senior Dragon Emperor to save Little Three? There was a pleading look in the Grandmaster's eyes. He had learned from Flender that there was a Dragon Emperor secretly protecting Lu Yuan. Furthermore, this Dragon Emperor Douluo was extremely powerful. Even his idol, Tang Hao, had been easily crushed to the ground. If he was willing to help, Little Three would definitely be able to return safely. I'm sorry, but I refuse. Lu Yuan directly rejected the master's request, asking him to save Tang San. What kind of joke was this? Why? Little Three is your companion. The master roared agitatedly and grabbed Lu Yuan's shoulders with both hands. Lu Yuan frowned and slapped the master's hand away. He said indifferently, I don't have a companion like him. From the moment he aimed his hidden weapon at Zhu Qing, he would never be my companion. I was already being merciful by not killing him. You still wanted to save him? What a joke. But isn't Zhu Qing fine? The master questioned. Fortunately, Zhu Qing is fine. Otherwise, I would have already killed him. Lu Yuan said with a trace of ruthlessness in his eyes. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Zhu Qing's heart warmed. She didn't expect to be so important to Lu Yuan. She blinked and looked at Lu Yuan with eyes full of affection. Ning Rongrong looked at Zhu Qing enviously. To be honest, she didn't have any feelings for Tang San. She even hated him because of Lu Yuan. They didn't have any friendship in the first place, and Ning Rongrong didn't care whether he was dead or alive. However, Ning Rongrong was very envious of Lu Yuan's love for Zhu Qing. If only Lu Yuan could treat her like that. At the end of the day, the current Shrek was no longer the original Shrek. The relationships between the members were very thin, and they didn't seem like a group at all. The link in Shrek wasn't the original Tang San, but the current Lu Yuan. Ning Rongrong, Zhu Qing, Ma Hongjun, and Oscar all had closer relationships with Lu Yuan. They were barely connected. Dai Mu Bai, Xiao Wu, and Tang San were already isolated. This was especially so for Ning Rongrong. She didn't experience any setbacks like she did in the original novel, and her personality was still very arrogant. She was only slightly better in front of Lu Yuan. As for Tang San and Xiao Wu, Ning Rongrong probably didn't care too much about them. After all, Ning Rongrong was from the Seven Treasures Glaze sect. In the original novel, she even dared to tell Flandra that he was only a soul sage. Her arrogance was evident. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, the master was shocked. He took 2 steps back, and his eyes were filled with despair. He couldn't refute Lu Yuan's words, because Tang San was indeed in the wrong back then. Furthermore, Lu Yuan's viciousness shocked him. His concern for Zhu Qing was beyond his expectations. Just because of Tang San's actions, he was sealed out of his heart forever. He even said that they could never be partners. He had a new understanding of Lu Yuan. However, if Lu Yuan wasn't willing to help, who else could save Tang San? You don't have to worry. Tang San will be fine. Tang Hao is secretly following him, Lu Yuan said as he looked at the master's sorrowful expression. How do you know? The master asked. What do you think? Lu Yuan looked at the master with a smile that didn't seem like a smile. The master came back to his senses. Yes, with the Dragon Emperor Douluo secretly protecting Lu Yuan, how could he not discover Tang Hao? However, since Tang Hao was following him, even if he hadn't recovered from his injuries, it shouldn't be difficult for him to save Tang San from the Titan Giant Ape. The master immediately relaxed. However, what he didn't know was that Tang Hao might not only have to face the Titan Giant Ape. Boss Yuan, what are you talking about with the master? Why can't I understand a single word? Ma Hongjun asked in confusion as he tugged at his hair. Seeing that the rest of the people, except for the master, Flender, Zhao Wuji, and Zhu Qing, who already knew everything, were all puzzled, Lu Yuan told them everything. Hiss, I see. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect Tang San to be the vast Sky Douluo's son. Furthermore, the vast Sky Douluo had bullied him, and he had even been severely injured. Therefore, even though Tang Hao is injured, he still has the strength of a normal titled Douluo. If he doesn't fight the Titan giant ape head-on, it won't be difficult for him to save Tang's San, Lu Yuan said. It won't be difficult to save Tang's San. What about Xiao Wu? Ning Rongrong suddenly thought of something and asked, Xiao Wu? Xiao Wu doesn't need to be saved. She won't be in danger at all. Why? Ning Rongrong didn't understand. Because Xiao Wu isn't human. What danger do you think 100,000-year-old beast can face in the Great Stardow Forest? Chapter 290. That's because Xiao Wu isn't human. She's 100,000-year-old beast in human form. What danger do you think she's in? Lu Yuan's indifferent voice rang out. What? His words were earth-shattering, and everyone trembled. What did you say? Xiao Wu isn't human? Ning Rongrong looked at Lu Yuan with a shocked expression. Xiao Wu was her roommate, although they had only lived together for 4 or 5 days. How could such a cute little girl not be human? Yes, Xiao Wu isn't human. She's 100,000-year soft-bone rabbit in human form. Otherwise, who do you think the Titan giant ape is looking for? And why did it only capture Xiao Wu? Isn't it because they already know each other? It's here to take Xiao Wu away. Lu Yuan said. Hiss. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. No wonder the Titan giant ape captured Xiao Wu. So it was for this reason. Do you have any evidence? The Grandmaster looked at Lu Yuan and asked seriously. At this moment, the Grandmaster's attitude had changed. Ever since Lu Yuan refused to save Tang San, he knew that he and the Grandmaster had completely parted ways. Of course, he didn't care at all. Evidence, Lu Yuan said indifferently. My eyes are the evidence. Pointing at his own polychoria, Lu Yuan said, My eyes can see through all evil in the world. Any illusion is useless against me. How could a mere 100,000-year-old beast in human form hide from me? Your eyes are polychoria? The Grandmaster looked at Lu Yuan's eyes for the first time and said, Your eyes are so special? Lu Yuan curled his lips and said, You don't think that my polychoria is for decoration, right? This is my second martial soul that I awakened after birth. Your second martial soul awakened after birth? Don't tell me you also have twin martial souls? The Grandmaster looked at Lu Yuan with eyes full of shock. Also, Lu Yuan looked at the Grandmaster with a smile that wasn't a smile. The Master was shocked and hurriedly said, I heard that Pope Bibidon of the Martial Soul Palace has twin martial souls. I didn't expect you to have one too. Lu Yuan looked at the Grandmaster with a deep gaze. Being stared at by Lu Yuan, the Grandmaster seemed to have been seen through. His heart was beating like a drum. Could it be that Lu Yuan knew that Little Three had twin martial souls? The Grandmaster wanted to change the topic, but he thought of something and asked, You said that the second martial spirit was awakened after birth. Could it be that martial spirits can be awakened after birth? Lu Yuan's words had indeed piqued his interest. He specialized in the study of martial spirits. Although it wasn't a high-end study, it was limited by his ability. He was still very interested in martial spirits that he had never heard of before. In particular, Lu Yuan's awakening of his second martial soul was a first in history. The Grandmaster's interest was piqued again. Lu Yuan, so you actually have twin martial souls. Ning Rongrong seemed to have discovered a new continent. Lu Yuan had surprised her once again. Lu Yuan was already an unprecedented prodigy. With a second martial soul, how high was his talent? Looking at Ning Rongrong's sparkling eyes, Lu Yuan couldn't take it anymore. He reached out his right hand and forced her head to turn away. Didn't this girl see that Zhu Zhuqing was still beside him? She dared to flirt with him. She was really bold. After being forced back by Lu Yuan, Ning Rongrong snorted and pouted. Facing the Grandmaster's question, Lu Yuan didn't intend to answer. He only continued. The second evidence is naturally the Dragon Emperor Douluo. With his strength, he could tell that Little Wu was 100,000-year-old beast in human form. I have a question, the Grandmaster said. Say it, Lu Yuan said. Since the Dragon Emperor Douluo could tell, the vast sky Douluo should also be able to tell. Then why didn't he make a move on Little Wu for so many years? If it was as you said, he should have made a move on Little Wu long ago. After all, 100,000-year soul bone is still very useful. Furthermore, a soul bone isn't like a soul ring. There's no limit to how much it can be absorbed. Little 3 should be able to absorb it. The Grandmaster gave his conclusion. Since the vast Sky Douluo didn't do that, and instead allowed Little Wu to get close to Little 3, this clearly doesn't make sense. Unless Little Wu wasn't a 100,000-year soul beast in human form, then this makes sense. The Grandmaster looked at Lu Yuan with a burning gaze. He obviously suspected that Lu Yuan's words were false. After the Grandmaster said this, the others nodded slightly. How could a titled Douluo not kill a 100,000-year soul beast in human form when he saw it? Instead, he allowed it to get close to his son. This indeed didn't make sense. Could it be that Lu Yuan's words were false? Looking at the Grandmaster's expression, Lu Yuan burst into laughter and said, "You still don't understand Tang Hao. He doesn't just want a mere soul bone. He also wants a soul ring. Now that he has established a good relationship with Little Wu, when Tang Hao can bear a 100,000-year soul ring in the future, he can make a move on Little Wu without any effort. When that time comes, won't he get both the soul ring and the soul bone? This is Tang Hao's goal." "Grandmaster, your thinking is too simple," Lu Yuan said, a little amused. Indeed, if Little Wu hadn't fallen in love with Tang San in the original book, she might have met this fate. Tang Hao recognized Little Wu's identity from the beginning. He didn't think that Tang Hao didn't have any ulterior motives from the beginning. Was the vast Sky Douluo a good person? Wasn't he moved by a 100,000-year soul ring and soul bone? Who was he trying to fool? Hiss. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Perhaps this was the vast Sky Douluo's true intention. He had hidden it so well. "Do you have any other thoughts now, Grandmaster?" Lu Yuan asked. The Grandmaster shook his head. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that Lu Yuan's words were perhaps the most accurate. With the vast Sky Douluo's appetite, perhaps a 100,000-year soul bone wasn't enough to satisfy him. It might not be impossible for him to obtain a 100,000-year soul ring. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Flinder, Zhao Wuji, and the others all nodded in agreement. As a soul master, who could refuse a 100,000-year soul ring and soul bone? This was a treasure that all soul masters yearn for even in their dreams. Lu Yuan's gaze swept across everyone. He had exposed Little Wu's identity on purpose, completely exposing Tang Hao's despicable intentions. As for Shrek's 7 monsters, this title would no longer exist. Their relationships were still very weak now, and they weren't as close as in the original book. Under such circumstances, with Little Wu's identity as a 100,000-year soul beast, would she still be able to integrate into them? Would it not be interested in Little Wu's soul ring and soul bone? It was simply impossible. Little Wu should obediently stay in the Great Stardow Forest. The outside world wasn't suitable for her. Without Little Wu, Lu Yuan would take Zhu Zhuqing away, and Ning Rongrong would most likely follow Lu Yuan. Shrek's 7 monsters, this group in the original book, would completely fall apart. Chapter 291. In order to increase the credibility of Xiao Wu being a soul beast, he even revealed his polychoria and claimed that he had twin martial souls. Even though it didn't matter if he revealed his polychoria, he wasn't Tang San. If he revealed his twin martial souls, who would be able to hunt him down? Long Xiaoyao wouldn't be able to kill them with a single slap. Furthermore, he only said that his polychoria was his second martial soul, but he wouldn't reveal the specific abilities of his polychoria, so it didn't matter at all. Lu Yuan's lips curled up as he looked at everyone in shock. This was his goal. He was almost done tearing apart Shrek's 7 monsters. Once he returned, he could return to the Martial Soul Palace. Perhaps he could go to Heaven Do to see Cher, and then prepare his own forces. Just thinking about it made him feel quite motivated. Now, it all depended on the Titan Giant Ape and the Sky Azure Bull Python. Furthermore, he didn't know if Tang San could catch up to the Titan Giant Ape. It would be fine if he couldn't, but if he did. Thinking of this, Lu Yuan could not help but observe a moment of silence for Tang San. If a gorilla like the Titan giant ape went berserk, it might not remember what it had said before and not be too harsh on Tang San. After all, he had given it a look not long ago, telling it not to hurt anyone. In the end, it still managed to injure Flender and Zhao Wuji. If this ape went berserk, it would be very difficult to control it. Lu Yuan had analyzed that Tang Hao and Tang San might have been plotting against Xiao Wu this entire time. Lu Yuan didn't dare to guarantee that the Titan giant ape wouldn't be annoyed by Tang San's repeated attacks and kill him with a single slap. It was very possible. As for whether Tang Hao could save them from the Titan giant ape, Lu Yuan was skeptical. If Tang Hao wasn't injured, he could rely on his rank 95 soul power and explosive ring to suppress the Titan giant ape. However, Tang Hao's old injuries were stacked with new ones. If he fought the Titan giant ape head-on, he would probably be hammered to death. Lu Yuan didn't know that his thoughts had actually come true. Tang San really did catch up to the Titan giant ape, and it wasn't an accident either. This was because the Titan giant ape had stopped running after running for a while. Its body was huge, and its movements were obvious. It was not difficult for Tang San to follow its path. Furthermore, the Titan giant ape had stopped moving. Tang San would catch up sooner or later. As for why the Titan giant ape had stopped, it had something to do with an ox-headed python. This was because this ox-headed python didn't just want to bring Xiao Wu back. It wanted to make the titled law behind Tang San pay the price for coveting Xiao Wu's soul ring and soul bone. Since this Tang San had a close relationship with Xiao Wu, then when Xiao Wu was captured, he would definitely follow. Of course, if the Sky Azure Bull Python didn't follow Xiao Wu, it would show that the Sky Azure Bull Python was a heartless person who didn't keep his promise. If Tang San were to follow Huiyu Hao, Tang Hao would have to follow as well. His son was in constant danger, and he couldn't be at ease. After all, the Titan giant ape was a tyrant among soul beasts. If Tang San were to follow Huiyu Hao, then his doomsday would be upon him. The Sky Azure Bull Python wasn't a Titan giant ape. It was very intelligent, and it was one of the most intelligent soul beasts. If it wanted to keep Xiao Wu here for good, then the most direct way was to cause a rift between Xiao Wu and Tang San. So what if he killed Tang San's father? Tang San's father had died because of Xiao Wu. Would their relationship be able to return to normal? Of course not. A rift was inevitable. When the time came, Tang Hao would reveal Xiao Wu's identity to Tang San, then tell Xiao Wu that Tang Hao wanted to take her soul ring and soul bone. That way, they would be of different races, and Tang San had killed Tang San's father. There was no way that their relationship wouldn't fall apart. This was the Sky Azure Bull Python's plan. Furthermore, Xiao Wu's mother had died at the hands of a human, so the Sky Azure Bull Python was extremely hostile to humans. Furthermore, the Sky Azure Bull Python would not let Tang Hao off the hook if he dared to have designs on Xiao Wu. Perhaps even Lu Yuan didn't think that the Sky Azure Bull Python would think of so many things. It had to be said that the Sky Azure Bull Python, which had been licking Xiao Wu's boots for tens of thousands of years, had become far more intelligent when Xiao Wu was in danger. Even Lu Yuan couldn't help but praise the Sky Azure Bull Python for its actions. Xiao Wu saw that the Titan giant ape had stopped, and she hurriedly said, "Let go of me, Ming. If you take me out like this, Big Brother will be very worried. Big Brother has been severely injured. I don't know if he's going to be all right. Let me go. I'm very worried about him." Xiao Wu's voice was filled with concern. Roar. The Titan giant ape roared. "What? Ming, you're saying Big Brother is harboring ill intentions toward me?" Xiao Wu was a little stunned to hear this, and she hurriedly shook her head as she said, "That's impossible. Big Brother said he'll protect me forever." Roar. "What? You're going to prove it to me later?" Xiao Wu stared at the Titan giant ape with a stunned expression. Since when had this silly ape learned to say something like this? Ming, did Ming say something like that to you?" Xiao Wu asked. That didn't sound like something this gorilla would say. If it were the mature and reliable Ming, then it would be more likely. Roar. The Titan giant ape roared again. What? I'll find out soon. Xiao Wu stared at the Titan giant ape with a surprised expression, unsure of what it was saying. A few minutes later, a figure suddenly appeared. It was none other than Tang San. Xiao Wu. Tang San's eyes turned bloodshot when he saw Xiao Wu in the Titan giant ape's hands, and he hurled the silver light in his hands toward the Titan giant ape. He flapped his wings and charged toward the Titan giant ape. As for why Tang San's wings could last for so long, that was because Oscar had given him more than one sausage made from his third soul skill. That was why Tang San was able to last until now. The hidden weapons were all deflected when they struck the Titan giant ape's body. The Titan giant ape roared angrily when it saw that Tang San dared to provoke it. It held Xiao Wu in one hand and clenched its other hand into a fist that was as large as a boulder. It didn't have any intention of holding back at all. Erming, don't! Xiao Wu cried out in a shrill voice, but the Titan giant ape still didn't stop. Its fist continued to smash down without any hesitation. Big brother, no. Xiao Wu's heart seemed to have stopped beating, and large beads of tears flowed from her eyes. Bam! There was a loud explosion in the air, and the Titan giant ape's fist was blocked by a huge hammer. Behind the hammer was a middle-aged man with messy hair. 9 soul rings shone around his body, and the last red soul ring was especially eye-piercing. The fist and the hammer collided, and a shockwave was sent flying. Tang San spat out another mouthful of blood. Chapter 292. The fist collided with the hammer, causing a shockwave. The Titan giant ape didn't move at all, but the middle-aged man retreated more than 10 meters, blood flowing from his mouth. How could an ordinary soul master compete with a soul beast in terms of strength? Furthermore, the Titan giant ape was one of the soul beasts that reigned supreme in terms of strength. There were very few soul masters of the same rank who could beat the Titan giant ape in terms of strength. Not every soul master had the golden dragon like Lu Yuan. Although Tang Hao was a strength-type soul master, he was still human. Even when he wasn't injured, he couldn't possibly surpass the Titan giant ape in terms of strength, let alone now. Tang Hao was forced back, and Tang San immediately recognized Tang Hao. Father! Tang San couldn't help but call out. He looked at Tang Hao with surprise and astonishment in his eyes. He was surprised that he could finally see his father, and astonished that his father was actually a titled Douluo. Little 3, leave quickly. Tang Hao looked at the Titan giant ape seriously. The Titan giant ape's strength should be equivalent to a rank 95 transcendent Douluo. However, because it was a soul beast, only a rank 96 soul beast could defeat it. If he wasn't injured, Tang Hao was confident that he could fight the Titan giant ape with his chaotic splitting wind hammer technique, even without using his explosive rings. Once his rings exploded, he would definitely win. However, right now, he touched his chest and wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth. His body was already damaged to a certain extent, and the most he could use was equivalent to a rank 91 soul beast. This kind of strength was undoubtedly insignificant to the Titan giant ape. Little 3's father is actually a titled Douluo. Xiao Wu's face was filled with astonishment, especially when she saw the blood-red soul ring on Tang Hao's body. It was a 100,000-year soul ring. Having a 100,000-year soul ring meant that Tang Hao had definitely hunted and killed a 100,000-year soul beast. Furthermore, her own mother had also died at the hands of a human. As she thought of this, Xiao Wu's face revealed an unnatural and faint sorrow. After all, Xiao Wu didn't know that Tang Hao's 100,000-year soul ring had come from the Blue-Silver Emperor sacrifice. She instinctively thought that Tang Hao had killed a 100,000-year soul beast. After all, this was most people's first thought. After all, it was extremely rare for a 100,000-year soul beast to be sacrificed to a human, so Xiao Wu didn't think about it. She just looked at Tang Hao with some repulsion. Furthermore, why didn't Little 3 tell me that his father is a titled Douluo? Also, Little 3's father has always been hiding in the shadows. Does he already know that I'm a soul beast? Xiao Wu's heart skipped a beat when she thought of this. She was heartless. She liked Tang San, but she was not brainless. When she thought of the fact that a titled Douluo had always been spying on her, Xiao Wu's face instantly paled. She might have trusted Tang San, but she definitely wouldn't trust Tang Hao, especially when Tang Hao had a 100,000-year soul ring. Furthermore, the current Xiao Wu only liked Tang San. She wasn't as unswerving as she was when Tang San stood up for her in the Martial Soul Palace. In her heart, she was worried that Tang San would mind her identity as a soul beast. Leave? Perhaps he won't be able to leave today. A loud voice came from behind Tang Hao. A huge azure python, more than 30 meters long, coiled up its body. It had a huge bull's head, and its lantern-sized eyes were filled with killing intent as it stared at Tang Hao. What kind of soul beast is this? Tang San's mouth was wide open. He hadn't graduated from the master's tutelage yet. Although he recognized the Titan giant ape, he didn't recognize the sky azure bull python. However, he could sense that the aura emanating from this python was even more powerful than that of the Titan giant ape. In this era, in the eyes of the vast majority of soul masters who didn't come from high-end sects, the Titan giant ape was the only one who knew about the powerful soul beasts in the Great Star Do Forest. There were actually very few people who knew about the sky azure bull python. Perhaps the master knew, but he hadn't told Tang San. Perhaps only the divine envoys knew about the existence of great beasts. As for the others, they didn't know about the existence of great beasts. The sky azure bull python. Tang Hao's expression instantly became serious, and a hint of madness appeared in his eyes. Others might not know about the sky azure bull python, but he was from the #1 sect in the world, the Clear Sky Douluo, and he was also the Clear Sky Douluo. This was a soul beast that was even more difficult to deal with than the Titan giant ape. Long time no see, Xiao Wu. The sky azure bull python opened its mouth slightly and spoke in a loud voice. Xiao Wu knows this soul beast. Tang San's eyes were filled with astonishment. We haven't seen each other in 12 years since you took human form, the sky azure bull python said. Human form? Xiao Wu is a 100,000-year-old soul beast. Tang San's heart was filled with astonishment, and an incredulous look appeared in his eyes. If Xiao Wu was a 100,000-year-old soul beast, how is that possible? He had once heard the master mention that 100,000-year-old soul beasts could take human form. After taking human form, the 100,000-year-old soul beast's martial soul would be its true body, and its cultivation speed would be extremely fast. The only downside was that it had to interact with humans. Otherwise, its cultivation speed would slow down. It was no wonder that Xiao Wu's cultivation speed was comparable to his even though she wasn't working very hard. Who would have thought that Xiao Wu was a 100,000-year-old soul beast? Tang San's heart was filled with complex emotions, and he didn't know how to face Xiao Wu. After all, when Tang San discovered Xiao Wu's true body a year after ingesting the gaze piercing autumn dew, he had fallen into a perplexed state. Furthermore, his relationship with Xiao Wu wasn't as close as it was in the original novel, so it was normal for him to feel perplexed. Long time no see, Big Ming. Having been exposed by Big Ming, Xiao Wu naturally didn't have to hide anything anymore, and she immediately admitted her identity. Tang San's heart immediately sank upon hearing Xiao Wu's words. If Xiao Wu had admitted her identity, then didn't that mean she really was a 100,000-year-old soul beast? Xiao Wu, do you know how dangerous it is for you to be in the human world? This human titled Douluo has been spying on you this entire time, and he wants your soul ring and soul bone to benefit his son, the sky azure bull python said. Big Ming, is what you said true? Xiao Wu's eyes were filled with incredulity, and she turned to Tang San with grief in her eyes. What else could it be? Why wouldn't a titled Douluo attack a 100,000-year-old soul beast who has taken human form? He's waiting for his son to be able to bear a 100,000-year-old soul ring before killing you and letting him absorb your soul ring and soul bone. The sky azure bull python said. Don't forget, Xiao Wu, your mother died at the hands of greedy people like him. the sky azure bull python said. A hint of hatred immediately appeared in Xiao Wu's eyes upon hearing the sky azure bull python mention her mother, and she turned to Tang Hao with hostility in her eyes. She was beginning to believe the sky azure bull python's words. Chapter 293. Her mother's death was an eternal pain in Xiao Wu's heart. She would never be able to forget the sight of her mother lying in a pool of blood, riddled with wounds. That was the deepest hatred in Xiao Wu's heart. Was Tang Hao going to take her soul ring, like how those soul masters had hunted her mother all those years ago? A titled Douluo had been spying on her for so long. Xiao Wu didn't believe that he would be kind to her. Furthermore, this titled Douluo had a 100,000-year soul ring. That was a soul ring that could only be obtained by killing her own kind. Xiao Wu's eyes were bloodshot. She looked at Tang Hao with hatred in her eyes. Xiao Wu hated humans who hunted and killed 100,000-year soul beasts, let alone this titled Douluo who was eyeing her soul ring and soul bone. Xiao Wu was struck by a sense of lingering fear as she thought about how she had spent 6 years being spied on like this. What about Xiao San? Why had he never told her that he had a titled Douluo for a father? Xiao Wu's eyes were filled with disappointment. Did Xiao San know about this? Or was he trying to get close to her on purpose? Did he also want her soul ring and soul bone? Xiao Wu's heart was in turmoil. This was an extremely heavy blow to her. Tang San's expression was also extremely complex. He didn't think that this little sister of his would be a 100,000-year soul beast. Furthermore, his father wanted to kill Xiao Wu to obtain her soul ring and soul bone. Even Tang San was somewhat convinced by the sky azure bull python's words. Grandmaster had once told him that every 100,000-year soul ring was extremely precious, and that they were extremely rare treasures that could only be found by chance. A 100,000-year soul bone was also extremely valuable, and was an irresistible temptation to all soul masters. As a human titled Douluo, if he discovered that his son was being followed by a 100,000-year soul beast in its infancy, then it was very normal for him to want to imprison it and take its soul ring for his son when he needed it. From a soul master's perspective, Tang San had no way to refute the sky azure bull python's words. But in terms of personal feelings, Xiao was like a little sister to him. Tang San didn't want to believe that his father would have any ideas about Xiao Wu. Moreover, Tang San was also a little confused about the current Xiao Wu. He still didn't realize that he had already fallen in love with Xiao Wu. He still thought that he only treated Xiao Wu as a little sister. After all, in the original work, Tang San's feelings for Xiao Wu only started to change after Xiao Wu removed the yearning heartbroken red. Only then did they truly change from being siblings to lovers. Xiao Wu's identity was actually a 100,000-year soul beast, while he was a human. The two of them were of different races, so how was he supposed to face Xiao Wu? Furthermore, his father might be coveting Xiao Wu's soul ring and soul bone. How could Tang San face Xiao Wu? Tang San had a feeling that perhaps he and Xiao Wu were going to walk further and further apart. Tang San couldn't help but look at Tang Hao. He wanted to hear what his father had to say. Xiao Wu also turned her gaze towards Tang Hao. Her bright red eyes were filled with a mixture of hatred and a trace of luck. No one knew what she was feeling lucky about. Human, do you have anything to say in response to my words? The sky azure bull python's boorish voice rang out. Do you dare to swear to the heavens that you've never coveted Xiao Wu's soul ring and soul bone? Tang Hao fell silent upon hearing this. He silently tightened his grip on his clear sky hammer. As Tang San and Xiao Wu became closer and closer, his desire to kill Xiao Wu had indeed weakened. However, it was impossible for him to say that he hadn't wanted to kill Xiao Wu and give her soul ring and soul bone to Tang San from the very beginning. Even Tang Hao wouldn't be able to say something like that. This was Tang Hao's original plan. However, as Xiao Wu and Tang San's relationship improved, he couldn't help but recall the love between himself and Ian. That was why this idea had gradually weakened. In any case, he had once had this idea. Even though Tang Hao had some issues with his character, There was no doubt that he was willing to admit to the things that he had done in the past. This was the pride that he possessed as the vast sky Douluo who had once shaken the entire continent. Tang Hao wouldn't deny it, nor would he bother to quibble. This was just like how he had hammered Chihiro disease. A hammer was a hammer, and Tang Hao wouldn't deny it. Even if he were to admit that he might die here, Tang Hao wasn't afraid. Ever since Ian had died, his heart had already died. If it weren't for Tang San, he would have already died with Ian. The only person he was worried about was Tang San. Of course, even if he didn't admit it, it wouldn't matter. After all, how could a human soul master not be tempted by a 100,000-year-old soul ring and soul bone? In particular, titled Douluos like Tang Hao knew just how precious a 100,000-year-old soul ring and soul bone were. As such, no matter what Tang Hao said, the Sky Azure Bull Python and Titan Giant Ape were unable to change their minds. I knew that you humans would be so despicable and greedy. The Sky Azure Bull Python's voice was filled with mockery and disdain, and at the same time, strong killing intent welled up in its eyes. Seeing that Tang Hao did not deny it, Xiao Wu and Tang San's bodies shook at the same time. Tang San's face was filled with disappointment, while Xiao Wu's eyes were deathly still. The trace of luck that was once in her eyes had disappeared without a trace. Go Airming! The Sky Azure Bull Python let loose a thunderous roar. At the same time, it summoned the Titan Giant Ape. This was absolutely unforgivable for the Sky Azure Bull Python, who was Xiao Wu's #1 bootlicker. Run, little San. A hint of madness appeared on Tang Hao's face as he poured all of his soul power into his clear sky hammer. In the face of the Sky Azure Bull Python and Titan Giant Ape, even in his prime, he was in grave danger. However, he was definitely going to die now. The only thing he could do now was to do everything in his power to keep the Titan Giant Ape and Sky Azure Bull Python at bay, and buy Tang San time to escape. Clear Sky Hammer, Chaotic Cloak. Tang Hao's figure flashed, and he pulled Tang San to the side with one hand. At the same time, the huge Clear Sky Hammer smashed toward the Sky Azure Bull Python. At this point, Tang Hao no longer cared about his injuries as he unleashed all of his power in a desperate battle. Father! Tang San was sent flying through the air, and he looked on as Tang Hao's yellow soul rings abruptly exploded, and a massive Clear Sky Hammer forced the Sky Azure Bull Python back before crashing into the Titan Giant Ape's massive fist. At the sight of the Titan Giant Ape sending Tang Hao crashing into the ground, Tang San couldn't help but let loose a cry of surprise as tears streamed down his face. Chapter 294. Tang Sen wore a pained expression as tears streamed down his face. 200,000-year soul beasts, both of which were super soul beasts like the Titan giant ape. Even Tang Hao was in grave danger. Tang San's heart throbbed as he watched Tang Hao being punched into the ground by the Titan giant ape. Bam! His body collided with the tree, and Tang Sen spat out another mouthful of blood. He was already injured several times, and this time he was flung hundreds of meters away by Tang Hao. When he landed, his internal organs were completely destroyed. However, Tang San couldn't care less. He swallowed the recovery sausage that Oscar had given him in one gulp. Tang San didn't care about his injuries as he struggled to move his feet and rushed towards the battlefield ahead. Tang Hao was his only family member, and with his personality, there was no way that he would abandon Tang Hao. Even if he had to die, he wanted to die together with his father. It was as if he no longer had Xiao Wu. After all, Tang Hao's scheme had been exposed, and it would be difficult for him and Xiao Wu to go back to how they were before. As such, he couldn't lose his father, Tang Hao. Tang Sen struggled to advance, but the battle on the other side was extremely bitter. To put it more accurately, Tang Hao was the one who was suffering. Slap! Tang Hao had just dodged the Titan giant ape's fist when he was struck by the sky azure bull python's thick tail, and he was instantly sent flying. The Titan giant ape's massive body leaped forward, and its massive fist came crashing down on Tang Hao. Xiao Wu was still in the Titan giant ape's hands. She looked on as the sky azure bull python and Titan giant ape pummeled Tang Hao, but she didn't feel any pity for him. It was because of him that she and Tang San were destined to never be together. On one hand, there was no way that she wouldn't feel any resentment towards someone who had coveted her soul ring and soul bone for so long. On the other hand, her identity had already been exposed, and she was of a different race, so perhaps Tang San was already holding a grudge against her. Furthermore, after this incident, Xiao Wu felt even more resentment toward human soul masters, especially when this person was Tang San's father. This was even harder for Xiao Wu to accept. Xiao Wu had unknowingly fallen in love with Tang San, but it wasn't to the point of being dead set on him. Perhaps she didn't even know that this kind of feeling was called love. It was just that she was used to staying by Tang San's side. Moreover, the incident with Tang Hao made her doubt Tang San in her heart. Would he really be able to stand in front of her no matter what danger she encountered, just like what he said back then? Xiao Wu wasn't sure. Tang Hao straightened his body. His body was covered with wounds. Blood kept flowing out of his mouth, mixed with pieces of his internal organs. How could it be so easy to withstand a full-powered attack? His body was already in tatters, and this full-powered attack had broken all the meridians in his body. His internal organs were in the process of rupturing. This battle would be Tang Hao's final glory. Bomb, bomb, bomb. Blow it up. Tang Hao's clear sky hammers 4, 6, and 6 soul rings exploded at the same time. The clear sky hammer carried an intense aura as it collided with the Titan giant ape. This time, the outcome of the battle was the opposite. The Titan ape's huge body was actually sent flying by Tang Hao. Its massive body crashed to the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. Even Xiao Wu was sent flying through the air. The Titan giant ape's thick arm drooped slightly, indicating that it had been severed by Tang Hao's hammer. Ming, Xiao Wu, the sky azure bull python let loose a cry of surprise as it immediately unleashed its slowing domain, and Tang Hao's body immediately began to slow down. At the same time, white light also erupted from Tang Hao's clear sky hammer. It was none other than his slaying god domain. The sky azure bull python lashed its thick tail with immense power, and at the same time, it opened its mouth to blast a massive ball of lightning toward Tang Hao. The sky azure bull python had unleashed its full power. Its power was already equivalent to that of a rank 96 hyper Douluo, and with its powerful body as a soul beast, only a rank 97 hyper Douluo would be able to defeat it. The only thing Tang Hao could do now was to blow up his soul rings. Explode. His 7th black soul ring exploded, and Tang Hao clashed violently with the sky azure bull python. Its thick tail clashed violently with Tang Hao's hammer, and a wave of energy instantly erupted in all directions. Tang Hao was sent flying through the air, and the sky azure bull python scales were also shattered as blood gushed forth incessantly. It had to be said that Tang Hao's offensive prowess really couldn't be underestimated when he went all out. However, even though the snake tail managed to block the attack, the massive ball of lightning was still hurtling toward Tang Hao with a destructive aura. If it were to land, Tang Hao would most definitely be reduced to ashes. In the face of the massive ball of lightning imbued with destructive power, Tang Hao had nowhere to run, so he immediately detonated his 8th soul ring. As a result, Tang Hao threw up a large mouthful of blood, and bits of his internal organs gushed out of his mouth. The massive clear sky hammer was enshrouded in black flames as it hurtled toward the ball of lightning. Bam! The ball of lightning clashed violently with the clear sky hammer, and it was instantly destroyed. An extremely deranged look flashed through Tang Hao's eyes, and he glanced at his remaining red soul ring with a hint of pity in his eyes before abruptly detonating it. The red soul ring's power was injected into the clear sky hammer, dyeing it a vast expanse of red. The clear sky hammer was like a small mountain, and it crashed down viciously toward the sky azure bull python with crimson flames trailing behind it. Not only had Tang Hao detonated his final 100,000-year soul ring, he had also activated his clear sky body, and this was going to be his final dazzling attack. Tang Hao had truly unleashed his full power in this attack, and his power had already surpassed rank 98 and reached a whole new level. This was the limit of the half-step bear lord's current level. The sky azure bull python stared at the clear sky hammer, and a hint of astonishment appeared in its lantern-sized eyes. There was no way it would be able to block this attack. However, it had no choice but to do so, as the clear sky hammer had already locked onto it. The sky azure bull python threw its head back and let loose a thunderous roar, and bluish-purple lightning erupted from its body as it prepared to put its life on the line. Right at this moment, a violent boom rang out, and the titan giant ape appeared in front of the sky azure bull python before swinging its massive fists toward the clear sky hammer. The sky azure bull python also let loose a thunderous roar before following suit. The two soul beast overlords clashed with Tang Hao's final attack at the same time. Boom! A cloud of dust abruptly rose up from the epicenter of the battle, and a massive crater appeared on the ground. The titan giant ape's body was lying within the crater, and its black fur had already been completely drenched in blood. Blood was pouring incessantly from its massive mouth, and both of its arms were hanging limply by its sides. Even its muscles and bones could be seen through the cracks. Beside it was the sky azure bull python. A section of its tail had been severed, and half of its scales had fallen off, indicating that it had been severely wounded. However, its eyes were still bright, and it was in a far better state than the titan giant ape. This was because the titan giant ape had been the one to bear the brunt of the attack. That was why the titan giant ape's injuries were so severe. Not far away from the two soul beast overlords was Tang Hao, and he was already completely drenched in blood as he lay completely motionless on the ground. Chapter 295. Tang Hao had poured all of his power into this attack, and in addition to the explosive power of his 100,000-year soul rings, he had raised the power of his final attack to the half-step limit, thereby severely wounding the sky azure bull python and the titan giant ape. As expected of the vast heaven Douluo, whose name had shaken the entire continent. Unfortunately, from this day forth, Tang Hao would no longer exist in this world. The battle between the two sides turned out to be so bitter and bitter. The sky azure bull python looked at the severely wounded titan giant ape beside it, and a vicious light flashed through its eyes as it spat out a ball of lightning, which instantly inundated Tang Hao's body. No! Tang Sen had just arrived with his severely wounded body, and this was the scene that he was greeted by. His eyes immediately became bloodshot and tears of blood began to flow from his eyes. Under the destructive power of the lightning, Tang Hao's body was instantly annihilated. His body slowly turned into ashes. All of a sudden, several streaks of light erupted from Tang Hao's body, and the sky azure bull python's eyes lit up as if a thought had occurred to it. It used its injured tail to catch all of the streaks of light before swallowing them into its mouth. Tang Sen looked on as Tang Hao's body slowly disappeared from his sight. An uncontrollable killing intent erupted from his heart. He abruptly picked up his Zhuge divine crossbow, and regardless of the disparity in power between them, he fired it directly toward the sky azure bull python. At the same time, he raised his clear sky hammer and charged toward the sky azure bull python with no regard for his own safety. His mind had been completely dominated by extreme grief and fury, and all he could think about was killing the sky azure bull python. Boom! The Zhuge divine crossbow bolt struck the sky azure bull python's body, and it was as if it had struck a steel wall. It couldn't even leave a single white mark on the sky azure bull python scales. The sky azure bull python opened its mouth at the sight of an ant like Tang San, and it prepared to unleash a ball of lightning. "Don't, Big Ming!" Xiao Wu's voice abruptly rang out, and she immediately tried to stop the sky azure bull python from killing Tang San. The sky azure bull python faltered slightly, and as it looked at Xiao Wu, it suddenly recalled what Lu Yuan had once said. The ball of lightning gradually disappeared, and a burst of air blasted out of its massive mouth, sending Tang San flying. Xiao Wu heaved a sigh of relief upon seeing that Tang San's life wasn't in any danger. She then turned to look at the heavily injured sky azure bull python and titan giant ape. If it weren't for them, he would have died at the hands of his mistress father sooner or later. Tears fell from Xiao Wu's eyes. Xiao San's father had been killed by Deming and Erming because of her, so she and Xiao San were destined to be strangers. Humans were humans, and soul beasts were soul beasts. Was it really impossible for humans to be together with soul beasts? Humans had always coveted the soul rings and soul bones of soul beasts. Xiao Wu only felt a little tired. The human world was truly too complicated, and everyone was scheming against each other. It was far from being as simple as the world of soul beasts. Xiao Wu was a little annoyed that something like this had happened. She had lost her yearning for the human world like she had in the past. She thought that perhaps it was just like what Deming had said before. The Great Star Doe Forest was the most suitable place for her. "Brother San," Xiao Wu called out to Tang San, who was lying on the ground, struggling to prop himself up. However, Tang San didn't reply. Instead, he was looking at Xiao Wu with hatred in his eyes, and Xiao Wu's heart shuddered upon seeing this. His father, his only bloodline relative, had been killed by the sky azure bull python and titan giant ape because of Xiao Wu. Not only did Tang San hate the sky azure bull python and titan giant ape, he even wanted to eat them alive. As for Xiao Wu, Tang San was also filled with resentment. If it weren't for Xiao Wu, his father wouldn't have died. He wouldn't have been attacked by the sky azure bull python and titan giant ape. Xiao Wu had concealed her identity, but she hadn't revealed it to him at all. Tang San had already descended into madness, and he had placed Xiao Wu on his list of people he hated. After all, Xiao Wu's current position in Tang San's heart couldn't compare to Tang Hao's. Unlike in the original novel, where the two of them pledged their love to each other in life and death, for the current Tang San, Xiao Wu was just a substitute to replace Tang Hao and enjoy the warmth of his family after Tang Hao left. After all, Tang San hadn't enjoyed the warmth of his family in his previous life. In this life, he had Tang Hao as his father, so he cherished it very much. However, after Tang Hao left, Tang San had lost the warmth of his family. As such, he had taken Xiao Wu as his little sister and doted on her in every possible way to experience the feeling of having a family. Perhaps because the two of them had been together for a long time, they had unknowingly developed feelings of love for each other. However, it was clear that their feelings for each other hadn't matured yet. Now that something like this had happened, Tang Hao was definitely the person Tang Sen cared about the most. Xiao Wu's position couldn't compare to Tang Hao's. Now that Tang Hao was dead, no matter how resolute Tang San's willpower was, it was going to crumble. Tang Sen had already lost his mind, so he naturally placed Xiao Wu on his list of people he hated. In fact, he was even thinking that those who weren't of his kind were bound to have different hearts. Soul beasts were soul beasts, and humans were humans. They weren't the same kind of people. Xiao Wu's heart throbbed at the sight of the hatred in Tang San's eyes. This was the first time Tang San had looked at her like that. This made her feel a little fearful. Sure enough, things had come to this in the end. Tears began to flow from Xiao Wu's eyes, and she turned away with a smile as she said, "Big Ming, Air Ming, let's go back to the Lake of Life." She had already made up her mind to never return to the human world again. The human world had only given her grief and pain. Xiao Wu forced a smile onto her face as she departed, and the sky azure bull python and titan giant ape followed along behind her. Both of these overlords had been severely wounded, but they were still able to walk. After all, they were soul beasts, and their constitution was far superior to that of humans. Tang Sen looked on with bloodshot eyes as the sky azure bull python and titan giant ape departed, and his heart was filled with resentment and killing intent. He swore that he would use his entire life to kill the sky azure bull python and titan giant ape. Tang Sen gritted his teeth tightly, and blood began to flow from his mouth. His injuries were far too severe, and he had only been able to hold on for this long due to his immense willpower. Now that Tang Hao was dead, and not even his corpse was left behind, this was a devastating blow to Tang San. In a short span of a day, he had lost the two most important people in his life. His father had died, and it was closely related to Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu had become his enemy. Tang San felt as if the entire world had been plunged into darkness. Finally, Tang San's vision darkened, and he slowly closed his eyes. Chapter 296. Everyone finally found Tang San. Grandmaster looked at the unconscious Tang San in front of him, and there were some fluctuations in his eyes. Tang San's injuries were too severe. If he didn't recuperate properly, it might even affect his future potential. Hence, Grandmaster wanted to bring Tang San back for treatment as soon as possible. After all, Tang San was his disciple, and he had nurtured him with all his heart. Furthermore, Grandmaster had a bad premonition when he looked at the unrecognizable ground, the huge crater that was more than 10 meters deep, and the remnant pieces of internal organs on the ground. Perhaps the vast heaven Douluo had already. After all, these internal organs looked like they belonged to a human soul master and couldn't possibly belong to the Titan giant ape. Grandmaster thought about how the vast heaven Douluo was already severely injured. Perhaps he had fought with the Titan giant ape in order to save Tang San. If a severely injured vast heaven Douluo fought with the Titan giant ape, who was the king of the forest, was there even a need to consider the outcome of the battle? Grandmaster closed his eyes. If it was really as he guessed, then it would definitely be a devastating blow to Tang San. "Flinder, let's go back." Grandmaster sighed softly and said to Flinder as he carried Tang San. Flinder nodded. Too many things had happened during this trip to the Great Star Dove Forest to hunt for soul rings. Not only had they met the Titan giant ape, but Xiao Wu had also turned out to be a 100,000-year soul beast in human form. Tang Sen had also met with such an accident. Flinder sighed. "Everyone, let's go back," Flinder said. After hearing Flinder's words, everyone nodded and began to prepare for their return journey. However, the atmosphere was much more oppressive. When they came, there were a total of 8 people, except for the 3 teachers. Now, there were only 7 people left. Xiao Wu was missing, and Tang San was severely injured. Even Ma Hongjun, who was usually carefree, turned his eyes and didn't dare to speak casually. The atmosphere was simply too strange. The only person who wasn't affected was Lu Yuan. Everything was arranged by him. Although it was completely out of his control now, he had achieved his goal. In fact, the effects might even be more perfect. The group walked quietly. Lu Yuan walked at the back of the group. Beside him were Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong. Ning Rongrong was really sticking to him. From time to time, they would look at Lu Yuan with adoration and some warmth in their eyes, making Lu Yuan feel a little restless. It wasn't because Lu Yuan couldn't bear such adoring gazes, but because Zhu Zhuqing was by his side. He could feel that Zhu Zhuqing's originally cold face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. This little wild cat was very jealous. Although she was not as possessive as Cher, she was not far off in terms of jealousy. Hulina was probably the most generous. She only wanted to stay by Lu Yuan's side, as long as Lu Yuan loved her. She was never jealous of Zhu Zhuqing and Chihiro Snow. Lu Yuan reached out his right hand and held Zhu Zhuqing's slightly cold hand. He gently squeezed her soft and boneless hand to express his feelings. Being held by Lu Yuan and feeling the message from Lu Yuan, Zhu Zhuqing softly snorted. She was much happier. The frost on her face disappeared, and her jade-like hand couldn't help but hold Lu Yuan's hand. Feeling the strength in his hand, Lu Yuan smiled. Sure enough, this little wild cat was jealous again. Last time, she was jealous of Chihiro Snow. This time, she was jealous of Ning Rongrong. However, being jealous proved that she loved him. Lu Yuan couldn't help but move closer to Zhu Zhuqing. He gently sniffed the delicate fragrance on Zhu Zhuqing's body. His heart was calm. When he returned this time, he would take Zhu Qing away. He didn't have the mood to care about Tang San and Dai Mu Bai. He would let them fend for themselves. When he came back to his senses, he would kill him cleanly with a slap. When Tang San, the son of fortune, who had always been successful in the original work, met Lu Yuan, the son of the world, who was completely unreasonable, his so-called fortune became a joke. It was almost a one-sided crush. Everyone walked slowly. Since they were now deep in the inner region of the outer region, it would take a long time for them to leave. Just as Lu Yuan and the others were leaving, in a strange space in the lake of life, a beautiful girl with silver hair and purple eyes opened her eyes. Her light purple eyes flickered with a strange light. She reached out and touched her chest. Feeling the increasingly weak feeling, she frowned. Did he leave? Why didn't he come to see me after coming to the great Star Doe forest? She muttered to herself. The expression on her face wasn't good. She only felt an uncomfortable feeling rising in her heart. She could clearly sense that he had come. Furthermore, with her reverse scale, he definitely knew that she knew that he had come. However, why didn't he come to see her? Did he not want to see her that much? She frowned slightly, as if she had made up her mind. Her red lips parted slightly. Tion. Shrek's group was still walking. Lu Yuan gently touched the silver reverse scale in his arms. As they got further and further away from the core region, the warmth of the reverse scale became fainter and fainter. He felt a little conflicted. He didn't know if she would be angry that he didn't come to see her. He thought about that cute silver-haired girl. She had the most beautiful appearance in the world, but she was extremely pure in her emotions. She was so pure that it made people want to laugh. Sometimes, Lu Yuan would think that if he had met her first, he might have fallen head over heels in love with her. Whether it was her appearance, aura, or personality, she was the best choice. Lu Yuan was already moved, but he didn't know how to express it. Thinking back to how she had asked him sincerely and innocently if he liked her, the corners of Lu Yuan's mouth could not help but curl up slightly. This girl was really interesting. Lu Yuan, what are you smiling about? Zhu Zhuqing happened to see Lu Yuan smile. She immediately looked at Lu Yuan suspiciously. Nothing. Lu Yuan immediately retracted his smile and shook his head. Really? Zhu Zhuqing looked at Lu Yuan suspiciously. Her woman's intuition told her that Lu Yuan was thinking about something that had let her down. However, she didn't have any evidence. Really? Lu Yuan nodded seriously. Suddenly, the sky seemed to darken. Space cracked open, and a huge black dragon claw grabbed at Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan only had time to push Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong away before he was grabbed by the black claw. Lu Yuan, Zhu Zhuqing exclaimed. Her face was filled with worry. Ah! Zhu Zhuqing's voice rang out, and almost everyone turned their heads in an instant, just in time to see Lu Yuan being caught. Chapter 297. Tian, you're courting death. Long Xiaoyao's figure suddenly appeared, and a tremendous aura that caused heaven and earth to change colors rose from his body. A dragon roar sounded, and the darkness holy dragon was instantly attached to his body. Yellow, yellow, purple, black, black, red, and red soul rings shone, and the aura that belonged to an ultimate Douluo instantly filled the entire place. Everyone from Shrek felt as if a huge mountain was pressing down on them, and they found it difficult to even breathe. Everyone was astonished as they looked at Long Xiaoyao's soul rings. He actually had 200,000-year soul rings. Such a combination of soul rings was simply unimaginable. Even Grandmaster sucked in a breath of cold air. No wonder even the vast sky was beaten to the ground by this dragon Emperor Douluo. It turned out that this dragon Emperor Douluo had 200,000-year soul rings. Ning Rongrong was also astonished when she saw the combination of soul rings on Long Xiaoyao's body. It was a 100,000-year soul ring. Even Grandpa Jian didn't have one, but the Dragon Emperor Douluo had two. Furthermore, this was the first time she had seen such a strong aura. It was far stronger than the Sword Douluo's aura. She had only heard from a Sword Douluo and Ning Fengji that ultimate Douluo were very strong, but she didn't know how strong they were. However, she had seen it for herself today. Just the remnant waves of the Dragon Emperor Douluo's aura alone stunned everyone, and they couldn't move at all. No wonder Grandpa Jian and her father had repeatedly reminded her not to lose her temper at Lu Yuan. It turned out that an ultimate Douluo was much stronger than an ordinary title Douluo. Zhu Zhuqing was also stunned as she looked at Long Xiaoyao's soul ring combination. Is this the Dragon Emperor Douluo? He's really strong. No wonder he could beat up the vast sky Douluo. Long Xiaoyao's fifth soul ring lit up, and a huge black dragon claw grabbed towards Tian. Just as the two huge black dragon claws were about to collide, Lu Yuan's voice sounded. Elder Long, stop. Master. After Lu Yuan spoke, Long Xiaoyao immediately retracted his soul power. However, his martial soul was still attached to his body. There was fury in his eyes. This was the second time that Tian had captured his master in front of him. Did he really think that he didn't have any temper? Master? Those who didn't know about the relationship between Long Xiaoyao and Lu Yuan, such as Oscar, Ma Hongjun, and Dai Mubai, were all astonished. Even though they had heard from Lu Yuan that there was a titled Thaw protecting him from the shadows, they didn't expect such a powerful dragon Emperor Douluo to address Lu Yuan as Lord. In that case, who exactly was Lu Yuan? Even the Grandmaster was staring at Lu Yuan in shock. He knew that Lu Yuan was from the Nodding Academy, but he couldn't understand Lu Yuan at all. A titled soul master who could beat up the Hao Tian Douluo was calling him master. What did this mean? Even the Pope of the Martial Soul Palace didn't have this kind of ability. For a moment, he only felt that Lu Yuan's body seemed to be covered by a layer of mysterious veil. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. Stay and protect Zhuqing. If anyone dares to harm her, kill them on the spot, regardless of their identity. As he spoke, Lu Yuan glanced at Dai Mubai. The killing intent in his eyes wasn't concealed at all. If not for the fact that he couldn't find a valid reason, he would have killed Dai Mubai a long time ago. Why would he keep him by his side to disgust him? Lu Yuan still remembered the ferocity he had shown to Zhu Zhuqing back then. Dai Mubai's heart skipped a beat when Lu Yuan glanced at him. Originally, he was still thinking about taking revenge on the two of them. However, he was terrified when Lu Yuan glanced at him. Lu Yuan didn't conceal the killing intent in his eyes. He was afraid that the Dragon Emperor Douluo would crush him like a chicken if he dared to play any tricks. Dai Mubai retracted his head and shifted his gaze away. Zhu Zhuqing felt a warmth in her heart. She didn't expect Lu Yuan to still be concerned about her, even at such a stage. She didn't follow the wrong person. Zhu Qing, practice your phoenix dance's 6 illusory illusions well, and take good care of yourself. Wait for me in Shrek. I'll come back to fetch you. Lu Yuan looked at Zhu Qing with a gentle gaze. Unlike Hu Lina, who had the protection of the elders, and even Bibi Dawn, and unlike Chihiro Snow, who had the support of the entire consecration hall, Zhu Qing only had him now. She only had him to rely on. This girl had abandoned everything and followed him without hesitation. How could he not protect her? He wouldn't be in any danger. At most, she would roll her eyes at him. At worst, he would be punched a few times. That was why it was better for Long Xiaoyao to stay and protect Zhu Qing. After all, Dai Mubai and Tang San were around. Lu Yuan couldn't be at ease if he left Zhu Qing alone in Shrek. With Long Xiaoyao around, Lu Yuan felt more at ease. Okay. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Zhu Qing nodded gently. Her lips parted slightly. Just as she was about to say something, Lu Yuan's figure slowly disappeared as Di Tian retracted his dragon claw. Long Xiaoyao's figure slowly descended. He came in front of Zhu Qing and bowed respectfully. Mistress. The Lake of Life. Di Tian and Hui Yuhao appeared. As he sensed the familiar rich life energy, Lu Yuan couldn't help but take a few more breaths. The scenery here was still as refreshing as ever. As he looked at Di Tian, who had transformed into a middle-aged man, Lu Yuan couldn't help but twist his lips. You seem to be very unhappy with me. Di Tian asked with interest as he looked at Lu Yuan's expression. This is the second time you've grabbed me like a chicken. Do you think I don't care about my reputation? Just you wait. When I become a titled Douluo, I'll pin you to the ground and beat you up. Lu Yuan snorted and said. Di Tian couldn't help but laugh. He said, You're arrogant. However, I like it. Dragons should have such pride. I'll wait for that day to come. All right, it's settled then. Lu Yuan said plainly. These two simple sentences were enough to set the stage for Di Tian to be brutally beaten up in the future. You'd better follow me to see my master now. Di Tian chortled. As he spoke, he gestured with his hand. The familiar spatial tunnel appeared in front of Lu Yuan again. Di Tian took the lead. Lu Yuan took a deep breath before following behind Di Tian and walked in as well. As he stepped through the familiar tunnel, Lu Yuan couldn't see anything. He arrived at the strange space under the Lake of Life. Ta-ta-ta. Lu Yuan's footsteps made loud and clear sounds as he stepped on the ground. As for Di Tian, he took the initiative to leave after sending Lu Yuan here. As he looked at the beautiful figure in front of him, Lu Yuan wanted to say something. However, he didn't say anything in the end. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.